Yo, what's up? Why? What episode? We are 32. Platchat Varum.
Nice.
32 episodes is what we've done. This is the 32nd one. It's cold outside.
It's very cold.
It's very cold. We're all located in Texas. Vas, what's your problem?
I don't really have many problems. I try to take a shower. All of us are unwashed right now, right?
Yeah, we are.
Unwashed.
None of us have showered.
We'll say it. They can't. Their pipes are frozen. My pipes aren't frozen, but I can't drain the water out of my shower. I went to go take one, and I was afraid to take it because it might have been pooling out. Like, imagine if the water pooled out of my shower when the entire state is shut down. So I'm living in an ice cube tray, essentially. So I'm not gonna fuck with it. I'm just gonna leave it alone.
I was looking for a hat to hide my greasy hair, and the only thing I could find was my skiing. To keep you nice and warm. You know?
Nice.
You know, I've noticed with that, you sort of look like an Among Us character a bit. You know?
Yeah.
So let's put that for the clickbait thumbnail. We'll put Bryn is Among Us. That's what we'll put.
But I'm not gonna wear that. It's actually pretty warm in our house.
Yeah, now your hair looks a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna put my hood up like this, and now we're gonna do the episode.
Nice. You look very cute.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, it's been an eventful morning, honestly. I spent a lot of it actually watching people try to drive on the ice outside.
Yeah.
They couldn't.
It doesn't seem like they should be
Unless
either.
you have chains on your wheels.
Yeah.
You can't really drive on ice as far as I'm aware. Yeah. And like a lot of like
Wyatt's car's got 2 foot of snow on it.
It doesn't have 2 foot of snow.
Doesn't have to.
It doesn't.
Josh tried to tell me that my car, because I said, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it looks like in some places they're getting, I don't know, like a foot of snow. And Josh said, well, right here, go outside and look at your car. There's 2 feet of snow on it. And I said, really? I didn't notice that.
Am I wrong?
I walked outside.
You're wrong.
The whole car, no snow at all, not even an inch. And then on the very front, like a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snow just gathered. That fell off the roof.
That's a foot and a half of snow in your car.
I mean, it formed a tip on the front of my car. There is just a 2 foot snow tip on the front of my car, and that you were trying to tell me that I had 2 feet of snow on my car.
I'm a
it's got
man.
drip. Your car's got drip. It's icy. It's icy. It's a little bit icy.
Very icy.
Ice in it.
Extremely icy.
Ice in the tank.
Yep. Yeah. But other than that, not really much has happened.
Yeah, eventful morning then.
Yeah, it's
like you said.
No, just been chilling. I've been like looking at the wildlife.
Yeah.
Other aspect.
No,
looking
cool.
at the wildlife.
What the hell
we
wildlife
live in a
is
suburb.
out?
What are you talking about?
Are you
there was
referring
that
to
one
the
time
people driving?
No.
He's been on Reddit again.
The other morning I saw a squirrel in our back garden.
Yeah,
and
the other
also-
morning, not this morning. It's freezing cold. It's literally freezing, and there's snow outside. There's no wildlife.
It's negative 13 Celsius, which I think is 10 freedom units, 10 Fahrenheit.
It's around 9 to 10 freedom units. Yes.
Nice.
I hope the Texan squirrels are prepared for this kind of weather. Like, do they gather nuts effectively throughout the winter?
I mean, if our entire infrastructure is shut down, I doubt that. I mean, who knows? I don't know if the squirrels are going to be perfectly adapted. They might, but considering we're having to ration power and everyone's huddling around bonfires and trash can fires and stuff. People can't drive in the streets. Everyone's skidding around. I went to the grocery store last night because I was like, or 2 nights ago, because my parents were like, "You need to go. You need to go. Like, you're not gonna be able to get anything." And I went, and it was like apocalypse. It was like literally apocalyptic. The stores, the shelves were empty. People were running around, shoving children out the way to get to the eggs.
What?
Like, it was, I mean, not that bad, honestly, but the shelves were empty. And there were like carts strewn about everywhere because the employees had given up. The employees had just given up. It's like, they can't control this. We can't control this. Like, it's impossible. And so we were really lucky. I went to the store because otherwise I would be totally screwed. I'd be totally screwed if I didn't go to the store.
Well, I'm annoyed because tomorrow is Pancake Day for all of the UK people out there. It is. Tomorrow is like, what do you guys call it? Mardi Gras?
Okay.
Something?
Sure,
you guys just steal the
Shrews
Spanish
Day.
version
do Mardi
of it?
Gras and Pancake Day, do they overlap for a reason?
Yeah,
Or is
they're
that just
literally the same
coincidence?
thing. It all comes from the Christian tradition of Lent. It's the beginning of Lent.
So
It's
how
Fat
did one
Tuesday.
become Mardi Gras and the other one become Pancake Day?
Because the church diverged very early on into two
To
different
pancakes
paths.
and parties?
Okay,
That's how they diverge?
One which actually wants to be as frugal as possible, so you have to eat all of the food and just put it into the worst thing possible. So just dump it into a pancake and eat it, shovel it into your mouth. You must only eat 2-dimensional food if you're a Protestant. And the others, the Catholics, are out there with great feathers on their head, like partying it up because it's fucking Shrove Tuesday, huh?
I grew up Catholic. We never did that. We just sat at home depressed.
Irish Catholics are a different breed, though, aren't they? That is slightly different.
I was going to say, where was Mardi Gras when I was growing up?
Well, Mardi Gras is a Spanish thing, though, isn't it? I don't know what.
I thought it was like a combo French, because like it's Louisiana
it might be French
that really does it. So it's like a combo of like everything Creole, I feel.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
maybe. I don't know. There's probably someone
French,
in Louisiana that's really mad at us right now. There's probably someone in Louisiana that's really mad.
There's just
about this.
that entire little spiel has angered 20% of the people watching. I would say wrong language,
Irish
wrong
Catholic
culture, wrong religion, wrong everything. All I can tell you of us for sure is that when I was growing up, Shrove Tuesday is Pancake Tuesday. You eat pancakes. What do you need for pancakes? Eggs. Don't have any eggs. Wyatt's been hoarding all the eggs, and there aren't any left in the shops. No delivery drivers coming out. Can't make any pancakes.
Listen,
it's going to be horrific.
Don't get mad at me because you haven't been rationing your eggs like I have.
Yeah. We can start the episode.
No.
But before we do, I want to say one more thing.
Okay. Very cute pancakes.
I've forgotten.
What?
All right, well, never mind. Let's just start.
There was something I did want to say though, but it wasn't. The oat milk. That's right. Speaking of rationing in the supermarkets, one quick thing.
Yep.
I ordered just a tiny little delivery of groceries, just some avocados and stuff.
Yeah,
because I'm bougie like that. Yep. Yeah. I finally joined the middle class. I'm ordering online groceries just for avocados. No, it was, but I ordered some.
I don't think is that a middle class thing? Is only ordering avocados? Like, is that? I feel like that's not.
I can afford the delivery fee for avocados.
The thing that I ordered alongside it is very middle class, which is oat milk. I got on that oat milk wave.
Is it middle class?
I feel like oat milk is very much like
oat milk.
It's trying to increase your male libido. What are you getting all this oat milk for?
What? Is that what oat milk does?
Yeah.
Does oat milk increase male libido? Yeah. I've been using oats wrong, very wrong the entire time.
All right, listen.
Are you sure this isn't
I'm giving you a little secret tip and trick here. There's some hidden wisdom.
It increases your...
I mean, I've eaten a lot of oats and never had a problem, but I didn't think there was a correlation.
Yeah, you've just reminded me of. Okay,
well,
I can really get into this. Yeah. But I tried to order oat milk, and the guy, my delivery driver, was panicking. He texted me saying, "Brennan, I don't know how to describe this, and I've never seen anything like this before. But it's just no oat milk." He sent me a picture and it's just cleared out. And he's like, "I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Well, just replace it with whatever you want." And he took like an hour to replace it. And he was like, "Do you want me to replace it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've just asked you to replace it like an hour ago." But yeah, it's I can kind of relate to that.
Devastation in the shelves.
Yeah. Anyway,
almond milk is much worse of us now.
I like almond milk.
The reason I've been drinking oat milk is because I've been mixing it into my protein shakes, which it's pretty nice. You don't break out as often because you're not drinking as much dairy. You know, at least for me, you break out a lot if you consume a lot of dairy. Drink oat milk. It's like a happy medium.
Yeah, it's skincare review today on Plaid Chat Valorant.
Male libido review. We have both skincare and male libido. Which grain is right for your penis? I don't know. Let's see.
All right, let's start. Let's begin the episode, starting with the weapon changes that was not announced, but kind of leaked. I believe it was Nick who ended up kind of like.
Is it a leak if he's a developer? If he's just a Riot developer and he's working on it, like the Riot devs announce things a lot.
Well, who was
Twitter
the previous Riot dev who used to stream a lot and would leak stuff all the time? They've left now.
Oh, yeah, the guy who's no longer there.
What? Yeah. I don't even know who you mean.
I can't recall. There was a dev that used to stream a lot, and I mean, HR must have had a field day with him when he was working over on Valorant, because he was just constantly leaking stuff on his stream. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently I mean, not apparently, this is going to be happening. There's going to be some frenzy changes. There's going to be some stinger changes. The clips have been deleted, which implies that.
So I guess it kind of was a leak.
I guess it kind of was a leak.
I mean,
Did
that
they
also.
confirm Stinger? Did they confirm Stinger? I thought it was only Frenzy.
So this is hearsay. I'm reading the whispers of the land.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because I didn't see the clip, but
Yeah.
in his stream apparently there was discussion of as well them changing the damage numbers of the stinger. But the thing that was more concrete was the frenzy change, which I think they're raising to 500 credits.
Yeah, Nikwu, I saw the clip and he said the small clip that I watched said they are going to change the frenzy up to 500 credits in the next patch. Now, if the clip has been with the clip being deleted, maybe actually this is like not true, and so Nick deleted it, being like,
I remembered his name,
whoopsie daisy.
Morello.
Oh, yeah. Did he stream a lot? I mean, I know that Morello tweeted a bunch of stuff, and he was like leading a lot of the departments, but I didn't realize he streamed.
Streamed a lot as well.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I think the Frenzy and the Stinger need changes. It's absolutely time to change them. I think making it 450, 500, all good. As long as you can't buy Stinger and armor together, it's good. Frenzy is a very powerful weapon, but it's not more powerful than the Ghost. It's just that you could also buy armor on the pistol rounds, and it was extremely annoying to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect change for the Frenzy. I don't think the actual numbers or what the Frenzy does is too powerful. It was just too little cost for what you were getting. So I think that's the perfect change.
Yeah, some nice moves. And if they change the Stinger while they're at it, I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I mean, the Stinger is actually too good.
Yeah, it's
with the
ridiculous.
numbers, because it should be 1,000. I think that's an appropriate place for what they were intending the usage of that gun to be, but it's overtuned.
It's crazy overtuned. I mean, like, either the damage or the rate of fire needs to be decreased, in my opinion, because the DPS you get out of the Stinger is just ridiculous. And maybe even you could do a tweak to the running and gunning aspect of it too. But I feel like that's kind of its purpose, is that you're supposed to be able to get value out of it in that sense. Like I think that's kind of what differentiates SMGs from the rifles in this game a lot as well, is that you can use the mobility while still being somewhat, like, you can still find a little bit of value out of them. I just think that they shouldn't be able to do that much damage. Because if they can't do as much damage, then you have a much wider window with which to punish them for just running around like a crazy person. But it's the same as like the Bucky and the Judge. Like, do I think they should be completely inaccurate when jumping around? No, it's kind of cool. It's like a niche usage of the gun. It feels weird when you get killed by it, but otherwise, who would use it?
They did nerf the. They've had multiple nerfs of shotguns.
Yeah, mate, tell that to all the Raze players jumping around.
But the Bucky is still, people still fear the Bucky, like, all the time. Like, people,
really?
I've heard people, in Raze, like, I've heard, like, I think it was Steel or one of the XSET guys were streaming, and they had some notorious Raze player, and he was jump packing in, and he had the Bucky, and everyone's like, run. Just run. Like, they just, like, ran away from the Bucky player. Like, so it's still powerful. But
what was the name of the guy that was... What was the name of the guy doing it in Brazil?
Oh, Brazil.
Oh, Hastad, yeah. Hastad, this big,
Hastad,
he's like a big streamer that plays on one of the top teams in Brazil as well.
He plays on Slick, right?
Yeah, he plays for Slick.
He's a
menace. He is actually a menace. He's double blast packing in with the Judge or with the Bucky on 50% of the rounds, I want to say, and getting value with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, I think it was the Korean region, right, that was calling for nerfs.
Yeah, Bunny was using it constantly in F4Q, and now the new Raze player for that team is doing it as well. Yeah, and actually, the European scene has started using way more Bucky too on defensive eco rounds, just 5 Buckies.
It's good. So. It's good. People get a lot of value from it. Yeah. Like, it actually
Red
is not bad.
This in beta.
I did. Well, it was much stronger in beta. I mean, you were literally running and right-clicking and killing people with it. Yeah. It was really strong. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with all the weapon changes that they've essentially that they're theorizing, and hopefully we see them soon. Because, it was at that point in the game where I stopped playing, and the justification I gave for it was the running and gunning, the overpowered like weapons like the Stinger, people just getting away with what felt like unfair mechanics. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you were playing and you died to something and you're like, that's not really how the game's supposed to be played.
Yeah.
And that kind of turned me off from the game temporarily, at least.
All of the pistol rounds at the moment are so RNG, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, like, a lot of people have been talking about the game being random or whatever. Pistol rounds where 10 players have frenzies are so random. It's chaos. It really is. Like, you can optimize some portions of it, but without utility and without like when everyone's just got armor and a pistol that bursts, but in a random spread, it's mental.
It's not just the pistol either. It's the bonus too. People are saying how they feel like, I think Nitro and a couple others, I think we're talking about how, and then someone from Ghost, I can't remember which player, but like the first 5, they feel like the first 5 rounds of the game, the 4 to 5 rounds are like, who's going to stinger better? Like, okay, you pistol, and then you stinger, and then if you win bonus, just keep stingering. Why not?
Yeah,
just keep playing
yeah,
stinger
yeah.
after the bonus, double bonus. And I mean, there has to be something changed.
Yeah, well, it sounds like they're working on it. So there you go. Next in the news topics, there you go.
Good
Big-
segue.
Big news. Thank you.
This was big news.
We missed this last time, but T1 have removed Brax and AZK. And I believe they said that Brax was the best player in North America. So
The
that's
most
why
skilled.
That's why they removed him.
Yeah.
And also, what did they say about AZK? Wasn't it like he is the best teammate?
I think he said,
had.
incredibly
So
supportive.
they removed the best player
like that.
and the best teammate.
Yeah, they removed the best player and the best teammate because otherwise T1 were going to be too good. They were just looking out for the rest of North America. They didn't want T1 to be a dominant force.
It reminds me of the Custer and Kooky stuff from the Overwatch League, where Custer got benched for being too smart.
Yeah.
It's complete nonsense. It's just horseshit. Like, there's absolutely no way that what David Dennis is saying is actually the justification. There was no why given.
Yeah, no,
like they
just
just
nothing.
there wasn't a why. He just said Brax might be the most skilled player in NA. AZK was excellent, but we feel these are the moves we need to make T1 more successful in the long term. There's no why there. No, it's like very good political speaking to make you think that they gave you a reason. There was no reason given. Also, no one. I mean, okay, yeah, maybe you could argue it's not even that great, but it was better than most orgs because at least they had Brax and AZK actually talking in the announcement about them leaving.
Sure.
So it makes it seem like Brax and AZK are on board. That they're like. That they left amicably.
Sure.
We have no idea whether they actually left amicably. Like, we have no idea whether Brax was removed or whether he chose to leave. It seems ridiculous that they would remove Brax, honestly.
Maybe.
You know what, though? I don't think it is. But I also feel like they don't have... Here's the thing. I think that they absolutely could have decided to remove Brax and tried to sign a better player. Because I don't think that Brax has lived up to the hype. He's been good, but he hasn't been great.
Yeah, that's very fair.
I also don't think they would have had the fucking balls to do it, to cut him. That's kind of where I'm trying to figure out which, I guess which thing is more prevalent. Like, is it their feeling that he wasn't actually good enough, so they cut him, or is it that they did cut him? But
it makes no sense to me that they would cut him and then say in the announcement that he's maybe the most skilled player in North America.
Yeah.
Unless they're just trying to kind of appease the fans that really do believe that.
I think it's also because they built him up so much from the get-go.
Yeah.
He was their golden boy, their star player. And it would be weird for them to remove him and be like, actually, it's... I mean, even in this announcement video, I think they had Brax saying a couple of things like how much it meant to him to play for T1, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I think this is coming from.
But there's no answers here at all.
No.
It's just... And the other thing as well is in all of this, the thing that makes...
Every time I see David, I just think of how far artificial intelligence has come and the prospect that it could just be a figurehead AI that they have invented. Because it's always the same background. It's always the same front-on camera view. It could...
He's a VTuber.
It could be just a VTuber model. And it's a character they've created to collect the hatred from the masses.
We've also... I don't think we've realized, but I think Avast Internet has died. Or his power's died or something.
Don't worry. It's... Hello. I'm so lost. I'm in the ether.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Back to the ether. But yeah, I jumbled my words, but it's just so odd and difficult to try to piece together what actually happened, because you can see the world, I feel, where they did decide to cut him, but at the same time you would think, given how much PR effort and money they put into that.
Yeah.
That
The marketing
they wouldn't, and because he's still a huge name.
Move up,
and it's also like he was playing fine. He just wasn't.
Yeah.
It
wasn't lighting the
They
world
built
on
him
fire.
up to be the world beater player, and he just was not. But he was still good.
Yeah.
And I do think that they could have conceivably decided to remove him.
But they
because
could have
wanted more-
conceivably decided to remove any player on T1. There's no player on T1 that you would have, apart from Skadoodle maybe. But even Skadoodle, they benched at the beginning before he became like this elite level player for the team. So to me, I'm not mad at any of the moves that T1 makes, right? Like this new version of T1, okay, you expected them to struggle in the qualifiers. They didn't lose even to a good team this time around, particularly. But that's okay. You want to give them a little bit of time if they truly believe that this is the way forward. But what I want to know is, and what I think the fans need to know more than just want to, is whose vision is this?
Yes.
Whose
Yeah,
philosophy?
that's what
whose vision is T1 playing under? Is Dazed making all of these decisions? If so, that's okay. I can understand how Dazed would have the balls actually to cut Brax and AZK. That makes sense to me. But you need to know that it's his vision so that he has accountability moving forwards with the roster. But if it's not Daze like making the moves, then Daze should not have the responsibility of making the roster actually work incredibly well. Like you have to. CS has always been run by the IGLs, and T1 kind of comes from other esports where
esports backgrounds, and also
run more by the top down.
of a corporate influence now as well.
Yeah.
With when Comcast acquired T1.
Yeah, and especially with them announcing a new head coach and then immediately making these moves.
Yeah.
From the outside, I think most of the fans are just assuming that this is David Dennis's 5-head move, that he's coming in and making these moves. If it is him, they need to say that it's him. Because the fans need to know that this is this person making the move.
Is that a real question? I mean, there's no way it's him, bro.
I don't think it's him, but also
there's no way it's him.
It could be.
But we don't know anything about him. We don't know anything about him. Is it so insane that T1 would hire someone to be a head coach and give them power when they come from like things like Overwatch and like
I'm losing it. The more
League.
The more I look at this, I feel like Bren's right. He's some kind of AI figurehead. Someone, the fucking master puppeteer who has put this all together, and that's where Fraud's ethics come in. Man being replaced by machine. Do you want to have instilled David?
Listen, no disrespect to David, but it's no disrespect to David.
I fucking love the idea of Fraud being against the AI uprising. And that's why he had to leave.
Listen, no disrespect to David. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke, but it's the same camera angle, the background, and also just the fact that it would be so easy to recreate.
I mean, he's so political. That's what it is. Like what you're saying, it is so political. But where do the fucking dots connect?
Exactly.
I mean, this is the grand mystery of T1.
Oh, we've gone into the void again.
The recording
I see.
is fine.
Oh, we
That's
haven't
so
gone
weird,
into the void.
actually.
It's just us that can't see each other anymore. But what I was saying is, I think it is feasible that someone so if we ignore everything that we've seen about David Dennis, also love his name, I love the alliteration, which again lends itself to being an AI. but I think if you kind of ignore all of the stuff that we've seen from T1, is it ridiculous that an organization at the beginning of Valorant would empower a coach that you've never heard of to make roster moves? No, I don't think that's ridiculous. Like, I think that is something that organizations could do. Mm-hmm. And in a game like Valorant, you could come out of nowhere and still be a good coach. Right? Like, in theory, you could come out of nowhere. No one's heard of you. Like, I hadn't heard of Mike's, who does the Immortal Minds podcast and went on to coach G2 particularly. I've heard of what he's done within the scene, but it's very possible someone could do some work behind the scenes for an org, end up in a front-facing position, and end up doing very well for the org. I don't think these are crazy things. And if they have, but it all comes back to, if he is the one making the moves, they've got to say he is. And if it's Dazed making the moves, you've got to say he is.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we're going to be memeing on the wrong people. We're going to be giving praise to the wrong people. We're going to be putting accountability on the wrong people as well from the outside. And that's unfair. It's simply unfair.
That is what is happening right now, though, after that. Look, it is a new roster. You can give them some time. But that game was a tremendous failure. That loss to headshot percentage. So, and here's the thing. We can say that we're going to give them time, but other people on social media and shit are not going to give them time.
No.
They are going to rail on them for losing that game.
Of course.
And, obviously, no one should get, a certain level of, shouldn't be getting hate. You can criticize their play, but, obviously, you shouldn't be hating on them in the first place. But
look at this.
In situations like this, there does need to be a level of accountability from someone.
Yes, and that is the big sticking point to me, is that I just don't know who should be getting the criticism here, and like whose decision making should
and
be
who will eventually get
questioned.
Praise if this roster does work out. Because the thing with this roster right now is this game. I'm gonna be honest. This game doesn't matter to me.
No,
I
said I wasn't even going to go and watch the VOD because it's irrelevant by the time the next time T1 play. This game's going to be irrelevant because they'll have already improved so much, or changed roles or whatever the hell, that this game is irrelevant. Now, I did go and watch the VOD, and I wish I hadn't, but I definitely,
feel the same way, but I did, it doesn't matter because in a few months, the roster will, by that point, there's no way that they're not going to improve from where they were at in that game.
No.
Literally impossible.
But they still have one more opportunity to make the Challengers Finals.
Yes.
Which is the Challengers 3 qualifier.
I think so. I've forgotten how it works, honestly.
They can qualify for Challengers 3.
Right.
And
that's
it should,
a month
theoretically,
away?
it gets easier the longer, like the later into the challenges you get, because teams are qualifying for it.
Yeah, true. I think, though, that even when I look at this version of T1, and Kurt, could you bring up the like stat line again and kind of the roles that everyone was playing so that people can see what I'm talking about as I walk it through? I saw a lot of people in my chat who were telling me about this game before I'd watched the VOD was saying, yo, T1 looked terrible. They're back to their old ways of playing really slowly, etc., etc. But at least Spider's on the right role now. He's actually on the jet. And you look at the amount of kills that he was able to get, and you could see how people would come to that conclusion. He's not on the right role.
No,
guys, he is not on the right role.
That Ascent game was a freakish nightmare of a past Vision Strikers. The amount of... I have never seen a team go for more flash and dash plays, and I checked. They did it 5 times. Not one time did it result in them having a player advantage.
No, it didn't.
And
it was all
know,
awful.
It was just all off. I don't know who was calling them, because in the middle of them, two of them, the first two, Spider saw that there was a turret, and still the play went off, and then they just fell apart.
No, it was really poor.
So poor.
Like the decision making and the positioning and the timing of peaks and stuff from Spider was way off. And okay, I mean, putting an AWP in his hands makes sense when you consider his like history playing Overwatch, where he was a sniper as well. But he's just not suited for this role. It doesn't make sense. He's not the spearhead for the team, and he shouldn't be. And it also puts Skadoodle on an incredibly supportive role on the breach. It doesn't make any sense. Skadoodle was a top 10 player in North America when he was playing the jet for this team. Why would you... I mean, if you want to take him off that role, put him on the Sova at least and put Dazed on breach, so that at least then Dazed is playing the supportive role. Also, just this round is just chaos.
This round is actually... Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. I mean, the headshot percentage team, they are an amateur team, so... give them some credit for winning. And also, I cut them a lot of slack for the mistakes that they were making. But this was not, they have not been like a tier 2 mainstay or anything. They were not a
This is a tier 3 team.
They were
best, I think.
We don't
have to rail on them too hard.
No, I'm not rail on them.
No, I mean like T1 as well as a team. I mean, they...
Yeah, but it's important.
We started this saying that this is a new team and they need time.
Yeah.
But also, if you watch these games... Like, I think that they were being, to Josh's point, they were being framed the wrong way.
Sure.
Yeah, the question, I think, really is, it's not about whether or not they're good, right? That doesn't matter. We've said that. It doesn't matter. What the question really is, does this roster look promising for the future? And do the roles look promising? The roster itself looks all right. Like automatic looked like he was okay. Like I could see a future for that guy in the game.
He just looked mega fresh to me.
Yeah.
Still. He just needs time.
And Curry, don't know. Haven't really seen enough of him, to be honest, to be able to form a proper opinion on him.
Yeah.
But the T1 roles, I don't think those look promising. No. While I could believe in the roster, you could sell me on this roster, even having cut Brax and AZK, you could sell me that a month or two down the road, they actually perform better than a previous T1. I would be surprised, but I could believe it. Do I think they'll do it on these roles? No. I just don't think that this is the right setup for them. I think you've got your players in the wrong positions here. And yeah, it was almost most surprising to me that people came away from this believing that at least now Spider's on the right role as the duelist, because my big takeaway from this was this is the only role where Spider's looked really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like even when he was playing the Omen and he was playing kind of very formulaic styles that were easy to read, at least he had an idea in his head of what he wanted to do, how he wanted to execute it. Here, he's out of timing with the rest of his team, too far forwards from them, not synced up with flashes, movement through smokes is poor, decision-making on when to peek and when to use utility was poor. Like, the guy needs way more time if you actually want to put him on the Jet, and I'm not convinced it's the right role for him at all.
I absolutely want them to just get Skadoodle back on Jet. It is so clearly his best agent. It is so evident at this point. I actually thought his breach was pretty good. He was finding some good timing. His breach was actually at its best outside of all of the set plays that they were going for. But still, his Jet was too good for him to not be on it. And at that point, I think you just try and run 2 duelists and have Spider back on Phoenix Raze. I mean, I think that's where he looked at his best now. Pretty evident that the other duelist role is open. And then from there, you could have, Daze play the Sova breach spot. And I suppose if they want to run both, they could potentially have Curry play the other. And yeah, automatic, he's just mega new, and he just needs time. But to go back to something I said earlier, again, this game doesn't actually matter. Like,
no.
There's no way that this is going to be the continued look of the team. And also, it is literally impossible for them to not improve from here. They're just too fresh.
Yeah.
So, it's to revisit over the coming months, because this is a very significant move. But you really,
oh God.
Again, you can criticize the play, but you can't be too judgmental to some extent.
Yeah.
They go for round 3, Josh.
Huh? No. It's just that watching it reminds me of how bad it was.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I mean, it happens when you shake up the roster.
It does.
It happens. TSM is another team that was, you could argue, I think, disappointing, for TSM fans, but in terms of actually how they played in this qualification match, the very last match before they ended up getting knocked out of the qualification bracket was generally quite a good series.
It was,
But they failed to make challenges too. They had a tough time of it, I would say, in terms of their side of the qualification.
They had a really hard bracket. I mean, you compare that to like FaZe or even Envy or something, and TSM had a very hard bracket. Envy get a free run, FaZe get a free run, essentially, and TSM have to face Dignitas and Gen G, who are 2 teams that are punting for tier 1, honestly. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say either of them are quite there yet, but they are both definitely
How many times have FaZe Clan squeaked by as well?
Yeah.
It feels like they always get the golden ticket. Every single time.
It really does seem to happen often.
But for TSM, like the game over Dignitas, TSM were on fire. Yeah. They actually skill diffed a lot of the Dignitas players, and it was only really Rara that could keep up. I mean, Rara was pounding in that series as well. But the whole of Dig generally looked like a functioning team. They actually looked like a really good team. Mm-hmm. It was the best game of the bracket up until TSM Gen G, which was also an incredible game where Wardell's just playing like a freak. TSM players are on fire all over the place, but they're just not quite. I don't know. They're not quite all there as a team. They're like the setup and the teamwork and the ability to deal with Gen G playing a slightly faster tempo wasn't there this day.
Yeah. I think what was most impressive, at least For one takeaway that was very impressive from Gen.G's win is that TSM were playing very well. And they had been playing very well throughout the entirety of it, which is also some credit to Dignitas for keeping it, relatively close and playing well against, like you said, it was just a TSM on fire. Wardell was playing excellent the entirety of the tournament that we had seen. Drone was having great moments. Sabrosa looked really good. I actually really liked the Sabrosa Sky. I thought that they were one of the teams that were getting a lot more value out of the Sky utility, especially the alts. I like the way that they were using the Seekers, where they would basically just have like 3 of them grouped up with Sabrosa in front, and he would just send out the Seekers on a site hit, and they would just follow them really closely behind, rather than... That seems to be like typically it's like a throwaway alt. Like you just kind of, we're in a post plant? Sure. Like something like that. But they were actually using it to set up with executes.
Yeah.
And they were getting a lot more value out of it. But yeah, unfortunately for TSM, playing well, players were on fire, but they ran into just a rejuvenated Gen.G who have just seemingly turned over a new leaf. I think that they fixed a litany of the issues that they were having. And I think the Ascent game was a great highlight of that, because in that game, they sometimes they went back to old reliable. They tried to do the A site hit with when dashing in. And the same thing happened that you would see before, where they would kind of get like clumped up in the choke. They couldn't really get in. The support wasn't really there for Win. They would just dribble in too slowly on the hits. Sean wasn't there. And then you compare that to every other round on that map, and they were playing with so much pace. They were decisive. They were pushing constantly. They were taking map control constantly. Sean was taking point all the time on all the fights, which
Big
is
improvement
exactly
from Sean, actually.
Well, it
It
was a huge improvement from Sean, but it's because how they were playing has actually enabled him. Because in the old system, I think he was in this spot where he was just kind of ending up playing more passively. But the way that they were playing in these games, they were constantly pushing for areas of the map and constantly pushing to take advantageous fights. And he was always taking point on all of them in mid-rounds, and he was finding mega value in that. And he was having some pretty successful lurks too. But I think that the way that they were playing, this faster style, this more decisive play style, has just fully enabled him, which has been the problem for so long with their team, that I just don't think he's been in the right spot.
I was going to say, how far do you think this Gen.G is going to go? This version of Gen.G, now that they've qualified alongside FaZe and Envy.
They look like the best version that I've seen.
Right.
Like
really?
I mean,
yes,
this
absolutely.
was the best Gen.G match that I've seen,
and it's
in like 5 months.
And it's not because Kusta's better than his like former replacements, like whoever was playing the Cypher in the past. They've rotated it through a bunch of players, but eventually it was player 1 that ended up being dropped. But that isn't the big thing. The big thing was that they were playing differently. And I also want to point out that they've really got an interesting way of playing Icebox, and it's catching a lot of teams off guard. When they play Icebox, they love to do pushes through the tube and through middle, and they push through to the defender spawn a lot of the time. I want to say maybe 4 out of the 12 attacking rounds were Gen.G pushing into the defender's spawn, which is a large amount, like a third of the rounds they're in your spawn. It was a big theme of their attacking half, and it changes up the way that you defend. When a lot of these teams are used to defending fast sight hits, you tend to focus on the extremities a lot at the beginning of the round. And when you have to change that up so that you have to pay a lot of attention to tube and to mid at the beginning of the round and then go back to the extremities, it messes with the way that teams' heads play, and it conditions them to leave the extremities open later on in the half so that you can get more easier sight hits in later down the half. I think the Gen.G have some great ideas of how they want to do that. Mikhail's got a lovely like double bounce recon dart that lands in Kitchen that lets the rest of his team walk up knowing that Kitchen is free. It's like, yeah, they've just got some great ideas when it comes to Icebox, which was obviously a map that was never really available for them to play in the past, and it bolsters their map pool pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, they also could have won the series 2-0 on Ascent. Wardell dropping 31 and winning multiple clutches
Yeah.
to actually bring.
They
that
actually
home
look
for
like the
TSM
better
in
team
narrow
on
fashion.
Ascent, in my opinion.
Which
Yeah.
it was genuinely great to see, because I feel like for the longest time, whenever we talk about Gen G, we were just rehashing the same narrative over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And they had clearly addressed the issues that we were having for so long now. And you have to give a lot of credit to that, I feel, to the new coach as well, MC, who just came in over the past few weeks.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
good point.
Had to have had tremendous impact.
Who's IGLing for them now? Does anyone know? Is it still GMD?
I was under the impression it was still GMD, but I don't know if that's changed.
Yeah. Because that would also be something interesting if they had swapped over the IGL.
I mean, that would explain part of it.
I also think, though, that TSM were really lacking something in this match. And I know that Sabrosa did have quite a bit of impact throughout the series. I mean, not so much on Icebox, but I don't really know that was his fault. But I think that they are missing that. Do you remember when they were playing the triple duelist and he was just dominating an area of the map with Raze?
Yeah.
And then when he was
yeah,
playing like the Omen, and he was just able to dominate one area of the map. When you have him on the Sky, I wasn't really convinced that he's able to do that, to like do the Sabrosa stuff. Obviously we catch him there, like lurking, finding a pick in mid, but it's not like he can take an area of the map and just make it his own. And that, I feel, was something that really benefited them, especially on Ascent in the past. Like when I think about how he used to work the B main area, it was essentially, it was giving them wins because they had that map control. And I feel like they were lacking that in this series. The double smokes and the Sky are interesting ideas, but I don't think this was the best strategy that we've seen from TSM. I think the players were popping, but the strategy wasn't peak TSM. But I can appreciate that they're trying new stuff.
What do you think of FaZe? What do you make of FaZe Clan? Because the narrative we're running with is that they kind of squeaked through another challenges.
I mean, they do.
Yeah.
I mean, they played against version 1. Or I forget what the scores of that map even were, if you want to call it.
Version 1 are a team that people might not have heard of, but you'll have heard of the players, right? Because they're Player 1, FEs, Vanities on that team as well.
XCS guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, also a fairly solid team that had been put together. But, yeah, what was that? They took a map off FaZe and then took on the last one. Yeah, and then FaZe bring back the last two. And then they played BBG after that for the qualifying spot. Just another, BBG are like a tier 2 mainstay team.
I watched this game though on stream. I did a co-stream of this game, and it was a bad game. Like it was bad. Like the FaZe guys were getting away with murder, pushing out different areas, just trying to go for plays constantly. They were all over the place, and they were getting punished on Ascent. But then BBG just couldn't. BBG don't have the discipline and the awareness of the tier 1 team where they can punish FaZe repeatedly for their sloppy play. And so what you end up with is FaZe just kind of muscling through these games against the teams that can't stop them. And they do occasionally, if their plays are popping, have upset potential against tier 1 teams. But this is nothing new for FaZe. This is the same old. It was just more of the same. I mean, you could just insert our last discussion about FaZe, I think, just put it right here. Yeah.
You'll hear the exact same things.
Yep.
They haven't changed. I mean, and this is, I was saying this to you when we were watching the game, but like, sometimes, like, I'll see the players post stuff, like, I think it was Baby Bay or something, like, after they beat one of the teams on Icebox, it's like, well, we won just going A every round. And it's like, that is where they're at mentally.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, okay, it worked. Okay. We don't really need to change. I feel like this team they don't want to change. They're not going to change. They're going to be this team playing this style, doing what they do forever.
It's hard to justify a change, though, when they're getting away with it. You know what I mean?
But because are they?
Well,
they're never going to be the best of this playstyle.
I mean, they're going to be like I feel like right now they're around that like 12th to 8th spot NA, and it's just going to continue to drop.
Well, I think there's another part to that as well, though, which is if you're inside FaZe, the team, the roster itself, when you're playing these games, if you get lost in the FaZe mentality, you're really going to believe that the difference between when you beat the tier 1 teams and when you lose to them is purely your ability to turn up on the day. Because when they are all firing, when they can outskill their opponents, they actually can get upset wins over tier 1 opposition. So I think they've kind of tricked themselves in their head to think that they just need to be all popping on the day in order to win a tournament, become the best team, whatever it is. And that's kind of their model for success is, oh, well, let's just frag out and we'll actually be able to win.
As long as they just need to be ice cold on the right day.
Yeah.
Ice in their veins on the right day.
Yeah, and that I think it's very understandable that you could fall into that mindset as a player on FaZe because they have won against tier 1 teams.
Yeah.
And if the organization isn't bothered about making changes, the players are all friends. They all come from Overwatch and Marv's, obviously. And I can see why they wouldn't want to shift. And at some point, I don't know when it'll be, but at some point maybe I think the only thing that's going to shift this team is if one of the players really wants to become the best.
Yeah.
You need that hunger for greatness.
Correct. Yeah.
Ice in his veins.
I mean, I feel like they're just content with what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
they're just content. I think they're just going to keep doing it forever. And it's at this point, it's just okay. I've lost passion and interest in this
In FaZe?
In FaZe,
Yeah, so
fully.
have
I just don't care anymore.
I said on stream recently, it's so disappointing that the team that when we were discussing right at the beginning of this podcast about these teams coming in and FaZe was like announced as a team, we were like, oh, this team, they should really be excelling with things like utility usage and thinking about how they're using it and being very intelligent with how they use it because they come from Overwatch. They should be used to that.
He doesn't
We didn't
know.
fucking know, did we? Because this is the exact same case that we've been making every single time we talk about FaZe Clan. We talk about this team just playing absolute full-on Zug Valorant. Just inting most of the time and kind of resting on their mechanical skill to power through these rounds. And it's just, at this point, I'm bored. I'm bored of it. I think they need something to shake them up because I think they will be perpetually always clawing above the tier 2, but never really breaking past in never winning a tournament.
But that comes down to the players have to want it. The players have to actually want to not just be good, but be the best.
But I think they do want that. They just don't know how. Is the issue.
The problem is, though, if you really want to be the best, but you don't know how, you end up getting frustrated. And your frustration leads you to make changes. And that has not happened at all in FaZe. Like, if these guys actually wanted to be great in Valorant, like, not just good, but they want to, someone like Corey, for example, who has the individual mechanical ability and was hyped up by other players and other, analysts and content creators as being a player that has the mechanics to become one of the greats in Valorant. If he really wants it, then you naturally would be getting frustrated with your inability to get into the tier 1. And you just are forced to get shitty with people. Like, people who are driven to be great like that can't tolerate not being great. And they don't just sit passively on the sideline and endure.
You say that.
I mean, that's it. It just is a recurring pattern across all sports and esports as well.
I mean, it kind of happened with Corey previously on the Washington Justice.
What did?
In terms of him being potentially the best player, if not the best player on the Washington Justice, but just the team. But in this case, I don't think he had that much of a say when he was on that
exactly.
team.
I don't think he has
this
agency in the Washington Justice.
But this time we were discussing how this team was formed, and it seemed like, again, this is pure speculation, but it seemed like Corey had a bit of agency in terms of what players were picked up.
I think he did. But that's not to say he made the wrong decisions, because
no. I'm not.
I think this team could have done okay and would have been a great starting position to make some roster changes, make some moves, add a coach, that kind of stuff. But those moves have not been made.
The thing is, when I look at FaZe Clan and I look at this team as an organization, it feels like they are just lost in the ether in terms of who is making decisions for this team. Because it felt like FaZe Clan were like, we want to get into Valorant. let's pick up Corey. We know he's a great player from Overwatch. There's a lot of hype coming in from him, and we'll let him build this roster. And then since then, it feels like the only input that has been put into FaZe as a team has been just on the monthly fucking spreadsheet, where they're looking at, how are our engagements doing for the Valorant team? You know, like,
Yeah,
do you understand what I'm coming from when I say that?
But
Like,
that might just be what the org cares about.
Yeah,
The org might not
it
give a
feels like there's no real incentive. It just doesn't feel like there's the drive to change things up to improve and break into that top 10.
I also want to add at this point as well that the reason we mauled about FaZe so much is because you can see the potential for them actually getting good. And I mean good like a tier 1 team. They could be consistently tier 1 if they fixed their style of play, because the talent on this team is extremely good in terms of like raw talent.
And look, you're right, and it would take a tremendous amount of work.
It would, yeah.
Even possible.
Yeah.
Because
I wouldn't want to coach this team.
Oh, no.
And I wouldn't advise anyone I know to go and coach this team either.
I mean, unless they're paying just asinine money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and here's the thing. It's a tremendous amount of work that might not change anything. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Could they maybe be a tier 1 team if they hypothetically were able to do all these things and a coach could pull it off? Yes. Can a coach actually pull it off? Will they listen? Will they care?
I mean,
Does it matter to them?
This was one of the rounds where
it's just
Corey's just
get me out of
challenging
here.
down short with enough like time for Robwiz to scope back in. BBG don't swing anybody on Robwiz to try and help. If they had done, Corey would have been punished, but he still gets punished because he hangs around just believing in his own ability to hit the shot until Robwiz has another op opportunity. Like, these things are crazy that FaZe does. They don't have respect for their opponents, and they get punished so hard for it occasionally. And then sometimes they can just skill it. But that, I feel like they're doing the, what is it even called? It's like where you're analyzing based on what, happened. Like, if it was successful, it was the right play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, what that kind of analysis is called, but not everything that works was a correct idea at the beginning, and not everything that fails was a bad idea at the beginning. Those things are separate and should be separated in your heads, and it seems like that process isn't there for FaZe.
Yeah. Another team. I mean, we can move on to Envy as well now.
Sure.
But also, we didn't mention it here, but I don't think it kind of needed to be mentioned. But 100 Thieves also qualified.
Oh, we're getting onto them next after Envy.
Are we?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
are.
because
We
they
are.
beat Andbox.
You're right. We are. You're right. Correct. I knew that.
He knew, chat. He
So
knew.
anyway, about Envy.
Oh, right, Envy, yeah. I mean,
this team, when we last saw them in Challengers 1,
mhm.
I would argue that they had a bit of a disappointing end to their run in Challengers 1 in terms of the way they went out. It was quite a sudden fashion. It was losing in the upper bracket in a 2-0, as far as I'm aware, and then immediately getting knocked out in the lower bracket.
Yes, against two on-the-rise teams, but it still seems like Envy are figuring stuff out. They're throwing their Omen roll around. They continue to, actually. I think they've been playing Mame on it recently. Actually, they've thrown it back to Caboose as well. They had Caboose full-time playing Omen and Food full-time Duelist, which, if you remember back a couple of tournaments, Food was full-time Omen, and then a tournament before that, they were rotating the Omen between them. They clearly have an issue here figuring out what the roles should be. And you talk about FaZe getting a free bracket. Well, Envy got an even freer bracket. They played against Space Station and Renegades and Beast Coast. I mean, these are all, especially with Renegades having a rough time of it recently, these are all just straight up tier 2 teams. Like, not even upcoming tier 2 teams. They're just tier 2 teams.
Renegades, I feel, they're just still in that stage of trying to find and then establish their identity as a team, which has just sort of been lost post First Strike, where they had notoriously they were just AB, and just winning rounds with
TikTok team.
quick aggression, TikToks.
Good bursts, though.
Yeah, but they were excellent coordinated bursts, but it got figured out. It got read. And then since then, they've just been struggling to find their identity. Their old coach left the team, and now they just added Strong Legs, who plays a lot of Sky. They're playing a lot of Sage now. They're trying to find their identity. They're trying to establish who they are as a team. Can give them a little time because they have the new roster.
Yeah.
But it did set up Envy for a fairly easy walk into the end of the main event.
I still don't. I don't think that the dominance with which Envy qualified should give you too much confidence about their chances.
I mean, they did the same thing
Challengers
in
too.
the previous one.
Yeah, pretty
Challengers
much.
1, they did the same thing.
Yeah. So I don't think that any questions about Envy have been answered at this point.
It's a shame our Envy dedicated fan is not here. You know, if Ask Power went out, he'd probably have a lot to say.
He would have the inside of what Caboose was thinking about this week. What Caboose had for breakfast before they played today.
I was just thinking, it's kind of weird, right, that Texas infrastructure can't keep up with the AC being on. Don't they deal with this?
AC being on?
Because that's why there's rolling blackouts, is because all these people have their heating on.
Oh,
they're blasting their heating with the AC.
Right.
But don't they do that during the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I haven't lived here for very long because I moved here at the same time
But
as
it gets
you moved
fucking
here.
hot, and so they...
But it gets hot in LA and they still have rolling blackouts when the AC gets cranked up to
But only when it's really, really, really hot. But
well, it's really, really, really cold right now.
Yeah, but I don't know. I find it a little bit strange. I don't know enough about how the power grid works.
That's what I was waiting for. That's what I was waiting for.
The admission of ignorance. Yep.
Listen, I'll admit if I'm ignorant about something.
Well, I don't know anything about the power grid either.
What I do know is...
But if I was interested, I would research it.
Maybe they do need to plan in advance.
Yeah.
Maybe they do need to plan in advance for this kind of stuff. Like if they're suspecting the power to really be ramped
That's sort of the thing, though, right? This never happens, so it's...
Yeah, it's unexpected, so they wouldn't be prepared for it, I suppose. But I don't know. I just find it... I was just thinking that, and I was like, it's kind of odd because it's cold, it's the same as if the AC was being blasted with cold air, right?
I mean, not exactly the same, but yeah, okay.
Like in terms of the power requirements.
I don't know.
And they don't really have that many.
That's the thing. I don't know whether it takes more power to heat or whether it takes more power to run the AC.
I think...
Two Valorant analysts absolutely ignorant as to how the power grid works, continuing to discuss their theories on how it may or may not work.
Yeah, well, let's move it on.
No background.
Let's move it.
Look a little... Oh my God.
Wow.
That's a lot of snow.
Is that in Texas?
That dog is drowning.
Oh, I was going to say. It's crazy. Put on the guy feeding all the wildlife outside on his porch. No, let's not look at that. that guy's crazy. Don't feed wildlife, guys. That's if you're going to take anything away from this podcast, don't feed wildlife outside until you have 20 raccoons just gathering on your porch. Because I was watching that the other day. That was ridiculous. 100 Thieves.
Yeah, 100 Thieves. Great segue.
It's a great segue.
Yeah, raccoons, 100 Thieves, easy.
Yep.
Nice, well done.
The 100 Thieves team, obviously, looking pretty dominant now that they've got Nitro back off of his, his leave.
Paternity leave.
His paternity leave. It was short-lived, but hey, listen, you're an athlete. You got to do what you got to do. You got to grind every day, waking up 4 a.m. showers in the cold.
Is that what Nitro does?
No, it's not necessarily what Nitro does, but
about?
there's people out there that feel like, I'm a grinder. I'm out there working every day. 4 a.m. is when I get up, meditate for an hour, cold shower. That's their mindset because they've been brought up on the concept of...
Zero gamers do that.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But I don't really know where I was going with it. Besides the point, though, they ended up playing against Sandbox.
Yeah.
And it was... dominant. It was pure dominance. I remember coming downstairs when you were watching this game, Josh, and you were like, you just told me to not watch it.
Yeah, the Ascent game, no one should bother watching it. Just assume that 100 Thieves won every single gunfight, and you'll be there.
Yeah.
But Icebox was much closer. And if you take a look at the Icebox, 100 Thieves basically had not a great idea of how to defend on this map. And it makes me wonder whether they've kind of been left behind a little bit in the Icebox meta, because a lot of teams have been getting better and better at Icebox. You got Gen G, who now look pretty decent at Icebox. Yeah. Immortals and LG have both got decent ideas of how to play the map. Sentinels, of course, recently came out and they just put Sinatra on the Reyna and started rolling people and the Dapper Sage. So a lot of teams at the moment, over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, have been making severe improvements on Icebox. And I wonder whether 100 Thieves, having not been forced to play it against tier 1 opponents, has left them with a little bit of
a gap.
Yeah, like a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What I do like that they do on the defense is that they focus on controlling mid at the beginning. But what I'm not a big fan of is that they don't do it with the I don't think they have the right agents to be able to play this map perfectly. And I also think that the allocation of their agents to like certain sites to hold was not effective. They ended up not being able to hold onto mid very well. And also Steel was kind of trying to hard anchor green on his own and ended up getting picked there repeatedly. And his Killjoy utility was pretty useless as well. So I think they need to rethink how they're approaching the defensive side. But their attacks, listen, Steel is still a genius at being able to find lurk timings when they're attacking. His lurks through tube, his lurks through mid, all based on pressure being applied to one of the sites, were genius. Like, they were actually so good. So they still got a chance at winning this game. But the reason that I bring this up about Icebox with 100 Thieves is that that's the map that it always comes down to when they play against Sentinels. So if they actually end up matching up at some point in the bracket for Challengers 2, this map will be pivotal. And you've got to think, like, this version of 100 Thieves that squeaked the win out in like a comeback over Andbox after rolling them 13-2 on Ascent will have to go up against Sinatra just running at them on Reyna. And I'm not sure that they can handle it at this point.
That's my question.
But hopefully they put in some work before the actual main event.
I'm wondering, because they haven't played, like, presumably they've been scrimming against a lot of the come-up of the North American teams.
Yeah.
Like Exet, LG, Immortals. But is there now a gap that's developed? Because the last time we really saw this team play, they were at the top of their game. And I still think that's the case. I'm not saying that they're not going to be capable of winning Challengers 2, but I think the competition has definitely stepped up across the board.
Yeah,
in the entirety of North America. Teams have gotten a lot better very quickly, and it's pretty exciting. I think there's a nice storyline coming into this actually as well. If you really want to go there, and in terms of how well you think and expect 100 Thieves to do now that this new kind of meta is developing, where certain teams are getting so much value out of this contact play style, how are they going to adapt to it?
Yeah, that's the thing, because I don't think 100 Thieves are going to be the team that tries to just do a Sentinels and skill it against these other teams. Like, they're not going to go into a series against Shot Up and Immortals or against Thief and a Proto on LG and try and
take the
body
jewels,
them and take the jewels. I don't think that's the style of 100 Thieves. I think Steel's going to try and play it really smart and try and set up a lot of trap plays around the map for them and this kind of stuff, and that's going to be their answer. They'll have a very different way of dealing with it. But we haven't seen what that answer is, and we haven't seen whether it's going to be effective. So still a lot of questions about 100 Thieves and whether they can continue their like number 1-2 spot in NA.
On the other side, though, Andbox, the new roster, they decided to put Poach on the bench, their longtime in-game leader. They brought in Rebo, who used to be the in-game leader for Moon Raccoons. Always a pretty solid player in my mind. Was always creative when he was on Cypher. Always had interesting setups, interesting cam usage with his ability to lurk and put forward utility pressure onto the enemy team. Always pretty good to me, but never was really a big fragger. He would find some impact kills, and he would do a good job of getting map control, and he led the team. But not a particularly great fragger. Fairly similar to Poach, really. I feel like in some ways, they kind of replaced Poach with new Poach, and I don't know if that is the answer for them. As to, like, last week we were talking about Andbox, and I just feel like the problem with that team is that their firepower is just not high enough across the board for them to actually be able to compete with the tier 1 teams. The way I put it, it's like there's a threshold that the other teams cross in firepower where if they have X amount, Andbox just can't win. And that was, listen, I was tuning in and out of the Ascent game. I'd join in and back, and I'm like, okay, 3 of them still have 0 kills.
Yes. They were struggling so hard. That was even more of a struggle than normal for Andbox. They had they had kind of swapped the roles up too. So Boy was playing the Sova, Seb was playing Omen, and then Wait, who am I missing there as well? Oh,
Rebo?
Oh yeah, and then Rebo was playing the Cypher, which was weird because on some of the other maps as well, Rebo was playing Viper on Split and Sova when it comes to the other maps too. I can't even remember which one. And then on Icebox, you saw him playing the Sova just then as well. So I don't think that makes any sense for Anbox. I think that they are struggling at the moment with Rebo being like. My theory is that they wanted to move slightly away from the mega tactical style of Poach's IGLing, and they wanted to go more towards a little bit of free-flowing or more reactive, perhaps, as Rebo was calling, kind of gather some information and work off the info rather than having a tactical plan for every round. Which, okay, I can understand you wanting to go in that direction. Rebo, though, definitely doesn't add any firepower. You could argue he even removed some firepower having Rebo on IGL instead of Poach. But I don't think it makes a large difference either way. But what it does do is it kind of messes up your natural roles, because Rebo isn't a Sova player, and clearly they do want him on Cypher on some maps, because that's what they're currently trying. And it just leads to a mess where you're now putting Boy and Seb on uncomfortable roles too, to kind of make up for it.
Yeah.
It feels like Anbox have not figured out the solution at all, to be honest.
I mean, it does. I'm assuming this is sort of just like a trial period, since there was no official signing of Rebo. So we don't even know if they're going to go with him. I mean, he is a good player and definitely deserves to be on like at least a tier 2 team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just don't see this as the fit for them. I just don't think this is the solution. I think if they really wanted to level up, I think they needed to bench multiple players at this point. I just don't. I think that this is, genuinely, this just feels like they're adding up. Basically, they just added a new Poach, and the exact same problems will persist moving forward. That's what this looks like to me.
I'd like them to try a style that isn't so much tactical as it is empowering Android to fuck. I want them to try and play some, like, I don't know, like the flash and dash kind of stuff where they're just loading kills onto Android, or having Android play maybe on the Reyna, but you're always creating space for him to be able to farm. I don't know what the answer necessarily is, but with the skill that Android has, the fact that he's not able to really do much on this team is a problem. Anbox are not putting him in a position to pop off.
Part of the problem with that, though, as well, is that Android's best agent, to me, is definitely his Phoenix.
Yeah.
And Phoenix is not... You can pop off on Phoenix, but not in the same way that you can on Jett or Reyna. With Jett, with the dash, your teammates being able to so effectively set you up. Reyna, when he plays Reyna, he's okay, but he's not as good as he is on Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's not necessarily a problem, but I do think that puts him in a place where he can't be set up to hard carry in the same way as a Jett main player would, or a Reyna main like shot up, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think that is something that can be worked around, though, because he's still, I mean, he's really good, and he does have games where he carries on Phoenix, but yeah, I'm not thrilled about this move, but listen, I'd love to see it work out, but I just don't think this is the solution.
Give him a bit of time.
Yeah.
We'll see. As well. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame we don't get to see them play for a while. I think maybe another 3 weeks until Challengers 3, or was it maybe 2?
Maybe 2
Probably
weeks.
2 weeks
like
actually. Yeah, in hindsight, but yeah, it's I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. So we've got our teams. We know who's playing in the Challengers 2. So now it's time to make some predictions.
I love it.
And go through this bracket. Now, my predictions historically have been a little bit off the mark, which you can pin down. You can pin down to a lot of factors.
Okay.
Sure.
What would you say the primary factors are? What has been going wrong for you previously?
Bad luck, really.
It's just RNG.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
The game is
Statistically
RNG.
speaking, my record should not be this bad. Like it is an anemone.
An anemone.
It's not an anemone. It's an anomaly that my predictions are this horrific. If we had the actual stats on what I'm predicting from all the companion streams that we've done, my numbers would be like below 30% in terms of correct predictions. That being said, we got a lot of games so we can talk about. I've got a pretty firm idea actually of what I'm expecting out of these matches.
Okay. Well, then lead on, Mr. Lead on, Oracle. Lead on.
So how do you want to do this? You want to go one match at a time, and you can rip it to shreds?
Let's go one match at a time, say what we think the important thing of the match will be, and then a prediction, I think.
Okay. Sentinels FaZe Clan, 2-0.
Okay.
Because
to who?
To Sentinels.
Okay, good. He's not starting off with a crazy one here, folks.
The justification behind this being that Sentinels strategically are a better team. They are going to be able to punish FaZe Clan for making similar mistakes that they've been doing in the past. Mm-hmm. And even if Sentinels decided to burn the strap book and play the same style as FaZe Clan, I think they would still win out.
Yeah, I
mechanically.
I think
they're that gifted. So worst case scenario, if Sentinels decide to just not punish anything that FaZe Clan are doing, I think they're still favorited. So I think 2-0 is the safest bet. We don't know all the maps are yet, as far as I'm aware. There's no way this is decided. This far in advance. But yeah, that's my prediction for that. Any disagreements?
No. I mean, FaZe would have to be in absolute god mode like never before.
Mm-hmm. Have they ever won a map off Sentinels?
I don't think so.
Did they take a map off Sentinels in the JBL finals?
No, they didn't.
Yeah, I don't see a way. I mean,
I don't even think
I do see a way, because sometimes FaZe can just pop off and win random maps, but I don't think it's likely at all.
FaZe also, it'll end up being on maps that Sentinels are good at too.
Yeah,
So
it'll just be random. It'll be like Haven. Honestly.
They always play Haven and Split.
Yeah,
always. So it's just going to be on Haven and Split, and it's
all right. Not too crazy though. There,
no, not too crazy.
Yeah, I like it. I think you're 1-0 up. I think you've got this one.
You think that's a lock?
Yeah, I think that's a lock.
Okay, yeah. All right. Xset Envy.
All right, here we go. Xset knocked Envy out of the previous one, so this is a great match. It's like a revenge match.
I like Xset a lot.
Okay.
And the justification behind this is that I think Xset currently, from what we've seen of them, Envy, I'm not too confident in terms of... They still feel a little bit uncomfortable in terms of the roles that they're playing, I think.
Yeah.
And they're still in the process of figuring stuff out. Whereas Xset, I look at this team and I see just a rock-solid team in terms of their team play, coordination. You can tell that they've got tons of potential to go far in this tournament. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm not going to go as far to predict a scoreline, but Xset, I think, are the team that are going to be taking that one over Envy. Thoughts?
Okay.
I agree. And I agree for similar reasons. I mean, it's kind of interesting when you frame it that way in terms of Xset being rock solid and going against a team of Envy who've been together for so long at this point. Yet that is sort of where it's ended up. Envy are just constantly switching around roles. They haven't hit the very peak of success that they're looking for yet, which is to win a tournament. It feels like they've been on the cusp for ages, but they can just never do it.
I'm getting a little bit worried because Kurt's Ryan out.
Well,
meanwhile, Xset have just been so solid.
They have
excellent players on the team, an excellent sense of utility usage, and they've just been steadily improving. I would predict Xset as well.
I'm going to go against you guys here. Okay. I think that this game is essentially a 50-50. Like, I truly believe that either of these teams could win it. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win either way. But what tips it for me is I think Envy have already... I think Envy are going to come into this determined to win. I think they've played against Xset recently and will have a good game plan for how to counter what Xset were doing on the previous maps. And I also think that Split is an absolute gimme for Envy. And so you have to kind of bank on the fact that Xset are going to win the other two maps in the pool, when Xset normally permabans Icebox, I believe. I think that's right.
They do. Yeah.
So unless there's something kooky going on here with the hello. Unless there's something weird going on here with the map vetoes, I think there's a slightly higher chance that Envy edges it out, as long as they have a good read on what Xset are going to do on like Ascent, for example, if we end up going over to there. I'm not confident in my pick at all, but I think I think if I had to put some money on it, I would put Envy in there.
I think, yeah, it is mega close. It is around 50. It does feel like it's around 50-50. Yeah, I do think that potentially the linchpin for the Envy win is, I think Xset will let Split go through and lose on it again.
Yes, I think that is what happens.
Yeah.
But this is a great game. This is a revenge match from previously. We've seen this clash happen recently. The map pool is also interesting because you end up having 2 out of 3 of the maps that are really close for these teams. So yeah, good game.
You're going to watch that one over Sentinel's FaZe Clan?
Are they happening at the same time?
Yeah.
Yes, I would definitely recommend people watch Xset Envy. Unless you really want to watch Dapper do 360s and kill Marv, yeah, I would recommend Xset Envy.
Okay, the next one, I'm getting progressively less and less sure of as this bracket goes on.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think with Immortals, we've probably got in our mind that I think it's easy to take away from Immortals the last series they played, which was the finals where they just crumbled.
Yeah.
That's an easy takeaway, and especially if you consider Gen G's recent upswing, I think you would be tempted to say this is 50-50, but I still think Immortals will be favored in this match. Because they seemed to... the last tournament, the Challengers won, the upper bracket. What it showed to me was that Immortals were not messing around anymore. They were capable of winning that tournament, but they failed on their own terms.
Yeah.
In my own opinion. And Gen G, it's still too much of a bit of an unknown quantity, despite the fact we have a lot of footage on them, I think, coming into this now. I'm waiting for Wyatt. Tear me up.
No, it's tough. It's a really close one. I'm still not. Maybe I'll start talking and maybe I'll find an answer.
Yeah, I think this is tough though because it's hard, right?
Right. Yeah, you're comparing we have a small amount of data of Gen G really on an upswing, turning over a new leaf, fixed so many of the major problems that have been plaguing them for like 6 months at this point. And then on the other hand, maybe not 6 months, and my sense of time is evaporated, but a while. On the other hand, Immortals had an excellent run. They looked mega solid throughout. It was really only the loss at the end to an on-fire Sentinels that sort of stains that Challengers won for them.
I think they pretty much 2-0'd everyone else, didn't they?
Yeah, they were excellent throughout. And also still a relatively new roster, so much room to grow. The entire team, so much firepower. There's not one player who on that team you could really say is like anything even remotely close to a weak link right now. I'm going to give it to Immortals, but it's like a 60, I don't know, 60-something to 30-something, or like a 60-40-ish, something along those lines. I'm going to give it to Immortals, but if Gen G win, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Immortals as well here. I think that even being tempted that this is a 50-50, I think is putting too much stock in Immortals versus Sentinels. Like, Immortals looked incredible over the course of all of their other wins.
Yeah.
And Gen G are just on a little honeymoon period at the moment. Whether or not that extends into the future is as yet unknown. It looks promising for them in the future, but you wouldn't say that they've proven themselves as a tier 1 team yet.
Yeah, we've only seen 2 games.
I actually think that this is a big game to prove both of these teams. Immortals have a lot of the Shazam fans who think they're a massively inconsistent team and got kind of found out against Sentinels, and this is like Immortals' chance to run the bracket, get deep, maybe make another Grand Finals appearance and prove everybody wrong again who keep underrating Immortals. For Gen G, they need to prove that they are actually legit, that it wasn't just a good run for a single tournament, that this new style of their team is going to continue to be successful. I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be another incredible clash of top teams. But yeah, I think Immortals take this. I also think it's going to be interesting where the map veto comes down to. I think Gen G looking very good on Icebox right now. If it comes to Bind or Ascent, I would anticipate Immortals winning that, despite the fact that Gen G looked pretty decent on Bind and Ascent. Mm-hmm. It ends up going Haven or Split. Bro, no idea. Actually, not a clue who wins on Haven or Split. Like, don't even have a team that I would favor. So I don't know where the map veto goes in this match, but it could be decisive.
Yeah.
The next series.
I mean, this is an incredible series.
I mean, that is, but yeah, unfortunately, that is just what is going to happen. These are just 8 really good teams.
I think these are the 2 best
7.
series, though, happening at 4:30. Yeah.
Could get TSM in there. Maybe could have given them an easier bracket, but
Yes.
I mean,
Well, that's the thing. I think that TSM are a top 8 team right now, and I also think that other than FaZe, these are the top 8 teams in North America right now.
yeah.
Like, I would say that this has done a fairly decent job of actually selecting the best teams.
We did kind of skate over it a little bit, but it is pretty wild that TSM aren't here.
It is,
I mean, this
it's
is
crazy.
the first time TSM that I can think of haven't made it to like this stage of a tournament.
Well, they got knocked out in groups before.
Yeah.
They got knocked out by
Dignitas.
Dignitas.
Yeah, I mean, I was
Yeah.
trying to think if they got knocked out in groups or not. I can't remember.
Yeah,
It's
in Pop
fucking
Flash, they got
900
knocked out in
tournaments at this
groups.
point.
This series, though, I can see this going one of 2 ways.
Wow.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh? You think
bold
LG could
I
win?
think either LG could win
Or
100 Thieves could win.
no way.
Yeah, it could go one of 2 ways.
You're
here.
crazy.
And here's how I can foresee this game happening. I could see LG winning off the basis that 100 Thieves come into this with, I think, their style of play so driven by their IGL, I think their calling and their adaptation. I think they could be shooketh coming up against LG. There's a real possibility that this play style just kind of is the antithesis of what 100 Thieves like to play like, how they like to play like, and they could get forced into some uncomfortable positions. Now, they got the mechanical skill to handle. You like that, shooketh?
Just keep going.
Okay. That's a real scenario. On the other hand, I can absolutely see 100 Thieves putting in a ton of work in prepping for this match. And LG, I think, do some very predictable shit on certain maps.
Sure.
You always know if they lose the pistol round on split, they're going to 5-man walk up mid on the attack side. Like, they fall into some very predictable stuff. And with a little bit of homework, it's pretty... You get a good idea of how they're going to be playing. Now, the question is, can you translate that to actually in the server, when they're not giving you any information, being able to make a prediction of what they're doing and roughly feeling out what they're doing in a map? So, this is a hard one. But,
Here we go. Here we go.
I'm going to go with LG.
You're going to go with LG. Okay. Tell me why.
The reasons I've already said.
Okay.
I think,
You think they're just going to find timings on 100 Thieves and kill them?
yes, I think this might be a clash of play styles, like where 100 Thieves don't come up well. And previously where LG have had troubles, it's been when other teams have been like, well, fuck it, we'll just play with confidence and we'll almost, just big willy it,
Sure.
But 100 Thieves, they're more than capable of that, but I almost feel like they hold themselves in too high of a regard, almost, is what I feel like is going to happen, to stoop down to almost that level of play style. They're going to want to play with strategy, and when I say with strategy, not to imply that LG aren't playing with strategy, but they're going to want to play how they usually do, which is having a good concept and overall plan on a round-to-round basis. And LG's, the best way that it has been put is the information starving aspect of it.
Yeah.
That could, I think, severely hamper them. But like I said, on the other hand, it could go that way. I'm putting this down to LG just because I think that it's unexpected, and if it does happen, I'll look like a genius. But
Okay. A good way of putting it, I suppose.
you have very different viewpoints on this.
I have the opposite perspective. And here's my reasons why. I think 100 Thieves win this game. And one of the reasons is what you mentioned about doing prep. I think 100 Thieves are going to do a lot of prep for this game because they know that people have been struggling recently with the contact style of LG and to some extent Immortals as well. But it's the team that defines this contact style for me is LG. And I think that 100 Thieves are going to be ready for that and have an idea in their head of how they want to deal with it. I think that a lot of it, when you have limited information, comes down to setting up trap plays, something 100 Thieves do a shit ton of on defense, and making really good reads from your IGL. I think both Steel and Nitro are great at making those calls, especially Steel, in the middle of the round to be able to counter their opponents and make the correct adaptations in the middle of the map to counter their opponents too. The other part of this too is that if we now flip the sides and think about 100 Thieves when they're attacking, they are a slow team on attack. They are going to hold areas a lot. And I think that works perfectly against teams like LG, where you just hold and you're going to make late round decisions. And that punishes the teams that are trying to peek for information like LG do. I think 100 Thieves already have the style to play well into LG. And I think there's more map data recently of LG playing than there is of 100 Thieves, because they went out to like Carpe Noctem in the previous tournament. Yeah. So in terms of doing homework, 100 Thieves should be at a big advantage here. I think that this is a great clash of styles, and it could go either way. Seriously, could. But I believe in 100 Thieves. I think that they've got all the pieces they need to be able to win here.
I am essentially on the same page with you, Josh. I don't need to repeat what you just said, but that was going to be my take as well. I would give it to 100 Thieves.
Now,
but also very close.
Are you doing Bren's bracket, or are we doing?
Is it Bren's
I think
bracket or
it's
democracy?
three of us, so I think it's majority
I'm picking
rules.
who the majority votes.
Yeah, it's majority rules.
Can I sway any of you over to LG?
No.
No, you can't. I mean, it could happen. I don't think Bren's bracket is ridiculous right now.
No.
But I can't be predding 100 Thieves to go down. Carpe Noctem fans.
We're continuing here in the lower bracket. We're gonna go all the way.
Fuck it, why not?
Yeah, I was gonna say before we continue, this is how the lower bracket is seated?
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
I think so. And then it gets flipped. So like when so we're gonna predict Sentinels over Exet, I'm assuming, all of us.
Yes.
So then Exet will get knocked down and play against like Genji LG.
Stop.
I could see a world where Exet win
Come on.
over
Where is
Sentinels.
all of your
Am I too
reasoning
high
has
up
been
on
good so
Exet?
far. Why do you think Exet would beat Sentinels? What reason is
Is
that?
it just a feeling?
It's not just a feeling.
Do you think their utility usage is better than Sentinels? Do you think their aiming is better than Sentinels?
I'm a little bit concerned that I actually think their fundamentals might be better than Sentinels.
Okay.
Next match. Immortals 100 Thieves.
I don't agree.
Immortals versus 100 Thieves.
You might be a little too high on...
I'm pretty high up on Exit, honestly.
This is where Bren's bracket takes a mad divergence from the mean.
I'll add on to this so I'm not just left high and dry. There's a fear in my mind that Sentinels are having so much success recently by throwing shit to the wind, playing meta picks, but not really having much thought into how they're playing it other than just like... I mean, they literally won the last tournament by making that adaptation, right?
Yeah.
That they might just keep that going. And that will be their downfall against a team that is incredibly disciplined like Exet. That is my concern.
I think Sentinels could roll over Exet, even if they're playing sloppy, though, because I think the skill diff is genuinely there in this game. The Exet players are decent, but they're not like Sentinels good in terms of being able to hold their own. That's where it
I'm
comes
backing
down to
off
for
from
me.
my argument. I take it
No,
back.
no. I love the Bren bracket. You can make a separate Bren bracket, and you'll look like a god if it comes true.
But it won't, I don't think. But I think I'm not, as you can probably tell, not too confident in that. Immortals 100 Thieves.
I have no idea. I really, I'm already 50-50 on both of like Immortals even making it to that point. Well, I'm not 50-50, but like I would say there's like a 65 to 70% chance that we even see Immortals 100 Thieves in the first place. So
Have Immortals ever won against 100 Thieves? I mean, maybe early.
have they even played against them that much?
I can't remember the last time they played. And I don't know. Does it even matter at this point?
No, I mean, if 100
Ross
Thieves
is
had got
so
this
new.
far, I would say that 100 Thieves could take it beyond Immortals. But Immortals look very good. But I mean, bro, we're getting into the
I truly have no idea.
yeah,
I mean,
we're getting
this
into the
is-
space-time continuum.
Yeah, this is the level
of
of matches
predicting.
where you would have to know how 100 Thieves beat LG and
To make an accurate prediction.
exactly, and to know like can they continue that against Immortals? And like, did Immortals play really well against Gen G? It's kind of form is going to come into it at this point as well, especially because we haven't seen 100 Thieves in so long
Yeah.
actually on stream playing against tier 1 opponents that it becomes really hard to predict this kind of stuff. I have no idea. I'm willing to just put whatever team in the upper bracket
Yeah.
final at this point.
I'm going to go with 100 Thieves because I think that if this bracket comes true and they beat LG, they will also beat Immortals.
Okay. All right. Sure.
So I'm going to say 100 Thieves. Or
I-
at least they're and when again, I mean, yeah, it's just so
I would
close,
lean.
but
I'm
gonna
leaning
go
with
100.
you.
All
I'm
right.
putting my
All right.
chips in your stack.
Let's
Okay.
do
We're
let's
going
do it.
all in.
Okay. Then the final thing there, upper final,
Upper finals.
Sentinels.
I'm giving it to Sentinels. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think Sentinels win on Icebox.
Yeah.
I think
Well, it
Sentinels
doesn't even
look
matter
much.
what I say.
No, I think Sentinels look a lot better on Bind at the moment as well. So yeah, I'm feeling good about them.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if it goes to and if they play Ascent, I think
They get swapped the
They
other way
can-
around, Kurt. I think it's Exec going to the bottom and Immortals going to the top.
oh no.
I think you normally flip the lower bracket.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I think the idea is that you're not supposed to face a team that you would face in round 1.
Oh, I see.
So, like, if Envy went on to the next round, you wouldn't want them playing against Exet again,
I see,
right?
yeah,
So
sure.
you normally flip the lower
Sure.
brackets.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Sen. I think the Icebox factor is very,
Yeah.
very big.
Yeah,
Very
there's a
big.
real chance that they are just way more up to date and up to speed in terms of how they want to play Icebox compared to 100 Thieves.
But honestly,
That's a good point.
the upper semi with 100 Thieves and the upper final with 100 Thieves could go either way. I mean, who the hell knows? Those are some absolute punt picks.
Yeah, I mean, anything beyond the upper semis.
Yeah.
It's
I think
just
there's
punted.
one match here that I'm really confident about, and that's Sentinel's phase. and then past that, it's like I
Yeah.
mean, these could all be wrong
They could.
because they're so close.
Do you guys want to do the lower round?
Fuck yeah, we might as well
Yeah,
while
might
we're
as
here.
Well, phase Envy win. I mean,
yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't even realize. Yeah, Phase Envy.
I give it to Envy.
Envy win.
I think FaZe could actually win that game
They
though.
could. Oh
I
yeah,
think they really could.
I mean, they actually have a chance against Envy for sure. But
Like a pretty
If
decent chance, I
Envy
think.
just really flop again,
I mean,
I'd say
Envy
or
would
even if
have
they're
to just massively fail at countering their style.
Yeah, but also the natural style of Envy is to push and take duels. Like, do you think Food is going to not take duels against FaZe players whenever he can?
That's the
Food
thing.
is gonna-
That's what I was thinking about too. Yeah,
Food, Corey, Raucous, Baby Bay Marv, they're all just going to be like
Yeah.
trying to fight each other as much as possible all the time. So if Food feeds, FaZe win.
yeah.
Yeah.
If Food feeds, FaZe feast.
Yes. True.
Genji Luminosity. This is an interesting one.
I mean, I'm gonna give it.
Do Genji still play like a team where they have just an idea of what they want to do on a round, despite like
no.
not regarding?
Well, yeah, they play like they have an idea of what they want to do, but they are
They
playing a
adapting.
fast, decisive game.
okay.
Yeah, and also they tend to go off like information that they gather during the round.
Yeah,
to
I mean, like
make
in the
their
mid round, yeah,
decisions.
like a lot of times on Ascent, for example, like when they would gather information in mid, they would act on it mega fast.
Okay.
They'd immediately start splitting into B.
I'm uncertain. I'm leaving this to you two.
I have no idea. I mean, this is another game
I'm
where
gonna
it's
give
like,
it. I'm gonna
how
give it.
can you even pred?
I'm gonna give it to LG, but again, this is a game that Genji could win.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, Genji, if this bracket plays out how it does, Genji are running into some. I mean, this whole all the teams here are good,
Yeah.
but they are running into two sick teams.
The thing is, Genji actually could. We've predicted them to go out in 2, but Genji really could make a run here. Mm-hmm. Like I think
Yeah,
Genji fans will look at this bracket and think that we're being really unfair to them, but it is really possible that Genji could beat Immortals and go on to the upper semis, and who knows what they could do against LG or 100 Thieves, or they could make a run through the lower and make it to like lower bracket final. I don't know. It's
I feel like
it is possible.
Both of their games, the two we have set up against LG and Immortals, are both like 62-38 in favor of Immortals and LG against
very
Gen G.
specific.
That is extremely specific.
I've been crunching the numbers since we started thinking about it to come up with the exact equation.
LG beat Xset, Immortals beat Envy. Is that what we're
You're
predicting
just
here?
a little. I quite like Xset.
I think
Of
okay.
what I've watched of some of their games, I quite like Xset.
Here's what I'm saying. I think Xset could win. We're also lost in the sauce
Yeah.
right now, and I'm just kind of predding the team
So
that
you
I
might
have
as well go with Xset. If we're lost in the
But
source.
we're going by which team has a higher percentage
But
chance.
Luminosity beat them recently, didn't they?
I believe they did.
Yeah,
Didn't
Yeah,
LG
last.
beat
They did,
Xset
I
in the
think.
last tournament as well? And it was like
I think that game might be a bit of a skill diff kind of game.
Alright,
and
guys.
that's going to make me go with
Not
LG.
even a hard bargain.
Immortals should win that.
Immortals should win over Envy. I agree with that.
I
and
think
then-
Immortals beat LG. Immortals actually
Yeah.
pounded LG last time they
Immortals
played.
should beat LG.
It looked pretty comfortable for them.
And then
100 Thieves Immortals, which would be a repeat of the upper
Rematch.
semi-final.
Wow.
if
Rematch.
this happened.
This time Immortals win though.
What? No
Yeah, do
way.
it. Why not?
I mean,
Why
yeah,
not?
Go ahead.
This time Immortals win.
Because if
Why?
imagine if
I don't know.
God,
they
imagine
figure
this
them out or
bracket.
something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Imagine
it's
if
just
I'm not
bracket
giving
played
you
out.
any analysis.
because like I feel like our Immortals are always a team that against the perceived top tier, like top team in tier 1 or like top teams, Immortals always crumble.
historically.
I feel
yeah,
like
they
historically
have.
that is
Yeah.
the storyline we're going into this. If this bracket happened and Immortals then went through the lower bracket to beat 100 Thieves that they lost to in the upper bracket, made it to the grand finals, and then they beat Sentinels as well, that would be a sick storyline.
We're manufacturing storylines based on nothing right
Yeah,
now.
but that would be so cool.
It would.
If Immortals ended up beating Sentinels then in Challengers too.
I mean, for that matter, FaZe win a
Yes.
tournament. They just run through. They just win every game.
I would feel disappointed if that
It's
was
so
the case.
exciting.
Yeah.
But in this case, it is like it's the rematch of the Challengers 1 finals where Immortals did crumble, Sentinels turned up, and you're seeing it again. But this time, Immortals coming from the back, the comeback. Oh,
And so Bren wants to pred.
I kind of want Immortals to
I
win
mean,
that.
That's pure
I
storyline.
mean, sorry,
It is.
Sentinels win the final. I think this is a
but the
Sentinels win.
storyline, dude.
I know the story's good, but Sen win.
I mean, I'm happy to pred literally FaZe winning the final in some wild scenario because it's all nonsense what we've
Yeah.
constructed at this point.
Okay, I mean Sentinels should theoretically win, but
Yeah.
imagine if this bracket happened. Imagine if Immortals won. It would
I mean,
be.
literally, this bracket will not happen
I mean, we also just
because no one predicts a perfect bracket
I
when
mean,
these things
yeah, it
occur.
doesn't happen.
we also just I for no reason said that Immortals would just beat 100 Thieves the next time.
Yeah, sure.
No
Why not?
analysis, no reason
Well,
why.
when you get this
They
deep,
just
it's-
why
will.
not?
It is. You are taking 50-50s.
Yeah.
When it gets this
Oh
deep.
yeah, I mean that's the first Immortals 100 Thieves is like a 50-50.
I give this
It's
one
so
like
close.
a 0.0001% chance of this bracket happening.
I mean, how many games are there? We've predicted 10 games or something. Or
1,
wait,
2, 3,
no.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
But
Yeah,
a
10.
lot of these games are determined
games.
whether or not you got the previous ones correct, which
Well,
makes
exactly.
it even more unlikely.
That's what I was going to say. What is 0.5 to the power of 10? What is the
Quite
if
low.
you were just flipping a coin? Like, what's
It's
is that
quite-
even the right permutation calculation? I don't know. I think it is.
Ooh,
Maybe
I think
not.
there's. I mean, I haven't done statistics in a very
No, I
long
haven't done
time.
it in a long
it's
time.
it's. The thing is, with stats, you have to be right with your calculations, otherwise
Yeah,
it's
of course.
drastically off.
Oh yeah,
but
I have no
but
idea.
I do know if we would. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be 50-50 every time, though. There's some games where I feel confident that there's like a team
Sure.
that has an advantage.
Sure.
But I'm really excited. This is going to be the best tournament that we've had in North America since.
It's gonna be good.
I don't even want to say First Strike because I'm more excited for this than I was. for
First Strike has so many weird aspects coming into it.
It did,
that
yeah.
It was just odd. But
This is just a sick
yeah,
double
this looks like a
elimination
nice time.
bracket.
the
It's
double elim bracket is nice.
just elite teams.
I like
Top 4 teams of like up and comers. Top 4 teams of like the old guard. Unfortunately, TSM not able to make it, which
It's the
would have
only
made this
thing,
even better.
If
But
TSM were in,
yeah.
it's the only thing.
I was going to bring this up when we were talking about TSM, but I want to kind of end the NA segment with a question for you guys as well, and a question I've been thinking about. Would you still consider TSM a tier 1 team? Like, when people talk about the tier 1 in North America right now, 100 Thieves are in the argument because they lost without Nitro. We're assuming they're going to be as good with Nitro and able to get, deep in the tournament. Where do you put TSM right now?
How many teams are in tier 1?
Well,
in your mind?
You can define tier 1 however you like, in terms of they're the top 8, or they're the teams that have a chance to win, or they're just the teams that are able to compete with the best, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you can have a variable size of tier 1, but whatever argument you make, top 8, is TSM a top 8 team in North America right now?
Yeah,
I would say they are. I think by that definition, TSM are a tier 1 team.
Yeah.
But if you are more selective with your tier 1, which personally I tend to define them as the teams that are the most competitive at the top, like there's no gap between them and the teams that win the tournaments. They could on any day win a tournament. I don't think TSM's current form or current performance over the last month, but also extending to JBL and to Summit. Well, no, not in First Strike, actually, because they were tier 1 in First Strike.
Yeah, they made the finals of First Strike. JBL was a dud, but they looked like they were just kind of, they needed a break.
They looked like they were out.
So it was kind of a whatever.
But in 2021, I don't think personally that TSM have been a tier 1 team.
Yeah, if you were to look at 2021 and onward, I would agree. Yeah.
I think they're probably in like the 8th
team.
position right now.
They are a team, though, that if they fall upon the right play style, the right meta, however you want to describe it, they could win a tournament. And I feel like it's been that case for a long time. But what's happened is North America's gotten more competitive.
But also, you say fall upon the right meta.
That's the wrong way to put it.
It feels like you create your own meta.
You create your own meta. I don't like the term like falling upon a meta, even though on
it's not the same as
on certain
Overwatch.
Maps you can make a case for it, like Icebox. I would say,
Sure.
like I think there's a definitive way that you can play Icebox that is better objectively. But yeah, it's not like Overwatch where you pick a comp on every single map.
Yeah,
it is. You do pick your own play style and you play towards that tendency. But TSM could fall upon a play style with the amount of innovating that they do, and it could net them a lot of success in a tournament. I feel like they're always capable of that. But in terms of what I put them, obviously they didn't qualify for this one, so we can't really use that. But in terms of them being tier 1, no, I don't think they are.
I just said that I think I would put TSM at 8th. I don't agree with that now that I've thought about it more. I think they'd certainly be higher than that. I think they'd be somewhere around like the 6th place or something. I would still have them ranked above Gen G right now, even though they lost to Gen G in a close game. I think that, I think I'd still have them ranked above Gen G. Who are the other teams that I might have them ranked over? I would have them ranked over FaZe.
Would you put them over XSET or no?
Not at the moment, I don't think.
XSET did beat them to qualify, but
I don't think I would right now. But I think Wardell's still a top 3 player in North America. I think Drone and Sabrosa are still incredible. The players that they have on that team, Hayes and Cutler have actually been performing pretty well recently too. Yeah. I think it comes down to like the play style that they have and the strategy that they currently are trying to go for is not really working as well as they might be hoping. But I was just interested in like the overall topic.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought process, I think, as well, because like, especially if you're inputting a lot of secondary outside information into your brain, even subconsciously, if you're not considering it, you would always be under the impression that TSM are a top team. Just because of the general consensus around the scene, I think. Yeah. People have always considered them a top team. It's never been up for discussion. This is like the first time I feel like someone has proposed that TSM would not be a tier 1 team.
I don't think they ever have not been a tier 1 team, though, since the team's formation.
Think so?
I think that...
There's been times, though.
Even when they went out to like dig in Pop Flash, though, it wasn't that they...
It felt random.
Yeah, it was like
to an extent. Like, it was the
so why...
It was the wacky Shanks pop-off moment. Yeah. And it was just very...
Why is this different? Is it just because it's more consistently...
It's over a larger period of time. We've now seen 2 qualifications for Challengers 1 and Challengers 2 where they haven't been able to get it together and reach their previous high form. I'm not saying it can't ever happen in the future, by the way. I think TSM could come back in the next tournament, change a couple of things, immediately be right there. The talent is all there. But right now, with what they're playing and their play over the last, I would say, I mean, has it been 2 months? What even is
It's
the
like a
date
month,
right now? I guess it's like a
been
month.
It's been about a month and a half.
Yeah, a month and a half, something like that. Over that time period, I don't think they've been a tier 1 team. They're like 1.5.
There's always the possibility as well, though, previously, when they were considered a top tier 1 team. It was in that early stretch of North American tournaments where sometimes we would have a big break and we wouldn't see teams perform. True. We don't know how they were performing in that period of time. They could have been spending that time. But again, that's pure speculation. You can only go off of what we actually know. I mean, that's an interesting question. But you know what's more interesting?
What?
Is that the amount of impact we have in the Valorant scene. Because
you're going to chalk this up to us, the next topic?
Yep. Okay. Riot EU, they changed the format, the community backlash. I saw the clip on the subreddit, on the competitive Valorant subreddit. I saw our podcast up there of people ripping to shreds the tournament. And what happened afterwards? EU gets a proper format.
Nice. We are the voices of the people.
Yep. No, we didn't do anything. No. But it's nice to see that the format, after so much complaint, has finally been changed so that we are going to actually reduce some of that RNG in the European scene. Because for the longest time, we've been singing the praises of Europe as a scene. And the one commonality across almost every single tournament that has existed in Europe has been the formats being absolutely wank. And this is absolutely in the right stage. So they've made it so it's best of 3 in the round of 128, I think.
Yeah, which is actually better than I was even expecting.
Really, quite far, yeah.
I thought it would be good if they made it in like round of 64 or hell, even like round of 32 BO3s. I would have been happy with. Round of 128 is extremely rigorous. I mean, you might even argue that it's too much, like when you're playing it against a round of 128. But I'm not. Stop. Zip.
Stop.
I'm sure people are very happy about this. Very happy. Yeah. When it's combined with good seeding for the qualifiers as well, which they actually said that there was a couple of teams that didn't make it deep in the previous tournaments that they're giving favorable seeding to because they realized that they kind of messed up previously. Now, I think there's like an asterisk at the end of this article where they explain it a little bit. There it is. There will be a one-time exception to this. In the upcoming week, we'll put 14 teams into the round of 128. That's 14 seeded teams, I think they're talking about. And they're saying they have several great teams ranked in the top 10 in the last week's qualifier that dropped out in the BO1 format. So I'm imagining that's teams like Heretics, for example, that didn't make it through because of BO1s. And Riot is saying, we're going to make an exception for those teams because we beefed the format previously. I think that's extremely reasonable of them, actually.
Yep. I absolutely love this. I think it's the best outcome we could have hoped for, I think, coming into this. And the fact that they are just changing it with a tight turnaround to Challengers 2, it's a pretty big ask, I think, as well, if you're coordinating this across with a TO.
Yeah.
To say, like, actually, we're going to potentially triple the amount of games that are being played early on.
Yeah. That's
enormous. That's a huge ask.
It is a massive shift.
And a very quick turnaround as well. So massive props to them for just changing this.
Finally. That's all I have to say on the topic.
It's nice. Yeah.
Finally.
We're finally going to be able to.
Now, that doesn't mean that everything's perfect in Europe. It would be still. I'd like to see more of them broadcast as well, because that doesn't really change that aspect. But the important part is just getting them played in the first place, right? Yeah. You can work on broadcasting later on. You can work on like trying to sort out the legality of some co-streaming, which has also been something that Europe has not allowed. But at the end of the day, the games need to mean something, and making them BO3s makes them more meaningful, makes the results more weighty afterwards.
All right. The final topic that we're going to go over, not the final topic, but the second to last topic.
Penultimate.
Yes, the penultimate. That means almost at the end. Brazilian Challengers 2
the definition in Webster's.
There was the Brazilian format of Challengers is a little bit strange. It's stranger than most. The way it works is the teams get put into 2 separate groups and they essentially play for their spots again. So it's not really a true tournament. You've got the qualification period. What was the team that got knocked out before? Was it Gamelanders?
Pain got knocked out.
Pain got knocked out. And the first one, Gamelanders got knocked out because they ran into Furia really early on.
That was Challengers 1, though.
Yeah, that was 1, though. Gamelanders, or Galaxy Carrots.
Yeah.
Poor Galaxy. Carrots,
And I kind of want to do a run through for anyone who hasn't heard us talk about Brazil since like First Strike. I think we
Right.
did some intro stuff for First Strike Brazil, and then we've kind of gone dark on it up until now.
Yeah.
And there have been some new teams added to the scene. So I wanted to kind of give people a brush up on what you might have
I
missed.
can't remember what we talked about with Brazil in our podcast.
I don't think
Until
we've
then.
talked
Have
about.
we talked about Furia?
We talked, we did talk about Furia.
I don't
and a couple of weeks ago for Challengers 1, I did talk. I remember we talked about it briefly. I kind of talked about
I think we
what
talked
was
about
happening with
the
first,
format?
with the first Challenger. No, I remember talking about Galaxy Carrots getting ripped to shreds by Furia.
Yeah.
Those poor carrots.
Yeah.
But what we haven't really talked about is whether or not the idea of making this super team has worked for Furia and for Vikings and
Yeah.
stuff. Because the Brazilian scene has always been incredibly competitive at the top level. We've had Gamelanders as the number one team. They won First Strike. They've won a bunch of tournaments all throughout the year. MW0 got highlighted in part of the Riot package as well. They gave him the nickname the Showstopper,
Showstopper.
which I think is a fantastic nickname. But there are now teams, and so during the First Strike era, there were teams that rose up to try and challenge them, like Pain Gaming and Vorax Fusion. Unfortunately, Vorax weren't able to play in First Strike to give you guys a refresher and kind of reminder on what was going on. And then underneath that, you had teams like B4, right? Those were like the top 4 teams that existed in Brazil. Since then, Pain have actually had a bit of unfortunate luck during Challengers 2. I think they lost like 3 out of 4 of their recent games, losing to Haven Liberty, but also 2 upcoming teams. Vikings,
Yeah.
who are the new team with Sacy, who look really strong. They've got an Argentinian player called Sadhak, who's got ridiculous aim as well. Frozen or whatever his name is also a nutty player. They're like one of the attempts at a new super team, a new top team, and they've been very, very successful. The guy Sacy is ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm curious as well. If we take a look at the main event of Challengers 2 for Brazil, you can
Good
see.
luck getting back to that.
Yeah. Oh my god. There we go. If you look at the main event here, some of the games have already been played, and they're BO1s in the upper bracket before
Yes.
going to the BO3. So Furia.
Well, the upper bracket final is actually BO3. So it's only that first
it's
game
only
that's
those
a BO1.
first 2, and that happens in both the groups. So you can see Fury actually ended up going against Gamelanders again, but it was Gamelanders who went up on them. The interesting
Great
thing
game.
about this,
Fantastic match if you guys want to go back and watch it. I mean,
Nutty one.
look at this and compare it to the skill level and the pace that you see in other regions, and you'll see why we're so excited about Brazil.
yeah, it's the whole region as a whole, which I don't know why I just said whole twice, but they play at such a pace that it's so enjoyable to watch. It is so enjoyable.
I did a
at least
VOD
at the
review, and
highest
people in
level.
my chat were like, it looks like they're playing on 2 times speed because they're just
Yeah.
making decisions so quickly.
So quickly.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the play style that's prevalent. I'll tell you what, this might be a hot take, but I kind of like the way that the Challengers 1, 2, and presumably 3 are all going to be in this weird kind of double group system,
Right.
because it puts more emphasis on to Challengers finals, which presumably is going to be an actual tournament.
It does, but it also means you only really get one tournament in 3 months. Like one big, where you get a winner. You
Yeah.
only get one of those climaxes.
Is that not the goal?
I think that's shit, mate. Honestly.
Is that not the goal of what they're going for with the formatting of because they're experimenting in all these different regions?
Yeah.
I think what they want is Challengers 1, 2, and 3. Not too many eyes on it. It's like the kind of interim. It's building a bit of hype. You get to see the up and comers. You get to see, the teams that are going to be performing.
Yeah.
Challengers finals, you see an actual tournament take place, which it all coalesces to, but eventually leads into the Masters event, which is what they want, right?
I think that's fine to have like
Once
a
lands are out?
major every or when lands are out, that would be awesome. But if you're not playing out the bracket, you're just robbing the viewers of a climax.
blue balling us.
Because
like
if
that-
it's for money anyway, which it is in North America, you actually are playing for a lot more money, then why would you not?
I like the format for the first challenger because it just kind of skirts around the whole seeding thing, and then you just play the groups, and the first challenger is only for seeding into the next challenger anyway. So it's not that hype. So I like the group for that actually, but I think to continue doing it in challengers 2 and 3, yeah, it's a bit lackluster in terms of the excitement. But
I mean, also, how do you seed the groups? Like, you could just get terrible seeding for a group. Like one of the groups could be way more stacked than the other one, which I would argue that they kind of are at the moment for challenges too.
It's not a perfect system, but what I like about it is the aspect of building hype to the challenges final. Because right now, I wonder if there's any viewers who feel similarly to me. Leave a comment if you do. Probably going to be none. But I like the build up to a challenges final because I think there's a real risk of burnout with the amount of tournaments that are being played in such a short amount of time. Yeah. And having that separation of the format and kind of like the lessened importance on those games in terms of like, I guess, watching them if you want to follow the scene, you can then just pick and choose a few key games to watch, catch up on really nice and easily, and then you go into the challenges finals with a rough idea, a rougher idea compared to if you've played out this tournament format, but also you're not kind of just overloading the entire month with tournaments. And it adds a lot more emphasis on that one tournament, I think, overall.
It does.
Which I quite like as an aspect. I don't know if there's anyone out there that agrees with me. I think generally speaking, if you just love Valorant, the tournament system that they've got in terms of NA works the best. You're always getting quality games every 2 weeks.
Yeah. That's what I like about it. Is that there's a bracket being played out, but I can understand your point of view. Yeah, it's it is somewhat overwhelming to follow it all.
It's a lot of games.
It is. Yeah,
it's a full-time job to follow every single game. Yeah. It is a full-time job. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But yeah,
let's go into the bracket a little bit though,
sure.
And let's take a look at Group A because Rise has been on the come up a little bit. Imperial's a team that was still like hanging around at the top level in First Strike, but I think that this that is a good attack in half actually from Rise. But neither of these teams are favored in this group whatsoever. I mean, if you're in a group with Gamelanders and Furia, you're expecting to get pounded by those teams when you play against them. Gamelanders, #1 team in Brazil until they aren't, and Furia at the moment look like the only team that's ready to knock them off that pedestal. And they actually lost their BO1 opener to them as well. So neither of these teams should really make it out of this group. It would be a big upset if they did.
Can we look at the...
Yeah, this should be a pretty clear Gamelanders win and Furia win against Rise after that. What is on the lower one? I mean, the lower bracket is definitely more interesting. You actually have
think it's
4
very interesting.
banging teams.
Yeah, 4 really good teams.
I mean, Slick are just a mental team to watch. It's like evidently it's like a team formed of streamers, and they'd kind of just plucked one guy from several other teams in Brazil. And
I didn't realize Hastad was Argentinian, actually. I thought he was a Brazilian streamer.
Yeah, I didn't know. But the style that they play is just, it is insane. It's just chaos. Hastad just gets a judge. He has incredibly good satchel jumps. I mean, he goes in far, very far, very deep. He has the judge out. He will find the entry pick this way. Yeah. It is just entertaining gameplay to watch, and it actually works.
It does.
Against quality opponents, which is what is so exciting about it.
BLD also, the Sage player, uses his Sage wall very selfishly to get weird angles to get picks.
Absolute TikTok Sage.
Yeah, actually a TikTok Sage.
TikTok Sage.
And so there were some Brazilian viewers in our chat when we were doing the VOD review of this, and they said that BLD talked about it, and he said after the Sage nerfs, he decided to use his Sage walls very selfishly to become what he describes as a playmaking Sage, so that he can take it and do stuff like that. And
what in the fuck?
And he essentially is like wasting his utility, but in order to get a pick.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm going to use all of my utility for myself in order to get my team an advantage that isn't utility based. It's like a player advantage.
So unconventional.
It is very
Their
unconventional.
whole team is unconventional.
Yeah,
and then
it is.
Their Cypher Demos is just a freak.
Yes, he's got
TikTokers just
yeah, it is.
TikTok team.
It is actually. It is a wild team to watch, but they are very good.
Yeah, they beat B4, who are still a good team in the region.
Despite Shandy moving to Furia, I mean that is a ridiculous BO3 in the winners bracket though. Vorax getting a close win over Viking. I mean, you're talking about just top 4 teams in that game. The Vorax Vikings game.
And Vorax have been having a rough time of it lately as well because they've been running into Slick all the time. Slick have only been a team for 2 weeks, I want to say.
Yeah, they
And
played Challengers 1.
They've already played Vorax. I think this will be their 4th time playing Vorax. If you look at Slick's history, I think they've played Vorax. I think this will be their 4th time recently. Yep. So this upcoming
ridiculous.
game, they've already played them 4 times. So this will now be their 5th BO3.
Wow.
No, wait, sorry. One of them's a BO1 in the middle of that. But the 5th meeting against Vorax. And yeah, so they've been able to get the better end of it most of the time, I would say, but it's still, I mean, it's anyone's game. This upcoming meet between the two of them. And that's going to be a big one because
that is a game to watch.
Vikings are also a great team. Like you would have, I think most people would have predicted Vikings and Vorax to make it through this group, but the problem is that they met in round 1, same as Furia and Gamelanders in the other group. So I don't know who wins this now.
They could still do it.
Yeah, incredibly fun team to watch. Though Vikings are really aggressive on the on defense. They like to be very proactive. They're a very good team powered by an exceptional Sova player too. And just to mention about Furia too, because we kind of just have been saying that Furia are a great team without describing how they play. They are so fast. I mean, they are so fast. They are one of the most reactive teams you could possibly put together. If you think G2 play like a loose reactive style, Furia are that, but like on speed.
Yeah.
They get information, they sense a little bit of a push coming out, boom, they're running as fast as they can towards the other bomb site, trading out everybody who's trying to hold in a dumb corner to stop them.
Furia as well have such good utility usage. Despite losing that game, they were effectively comboing so many utility pieces in such a decisive way. It was something that you had said when we were watching, but like the actions per minute on the players, it's just absurd. They're never pausing. But the utility usage in Brazil right now, overall from the games we were watching, was actually excellent.
It is.
It was excellent. It's all decisive. It is all fast, and it is all fluid. Like their retake utility is so fluid. They waste no time, but they set up actual proper utility combos as some of their players are already pushing into the site to retake.
It's all done on the fly.
It is so. It is actually just such. It's interesting because it's such good utility usage that just takes no time to pause, which is what you normally see.
Yeah,
like you see things being set up. It feels like nothing gets set up, so it almost leads you to believe that like surely the utility can't be that good because it's also fast. It's so fluid. There's just fights happening everywhere. But no, the utility is actually incredibly well thought out, despite being just insane aimers across the board on so many of these teams. They go into every fight seeking an advantage with utility combo usage.
Yeah.
It is just excellent play.
It really is.
From Brazil right now.
It's like crazy good.
Incredibly good.
I mean, you could watch these games and be forgiven for thinking that you are looking into the future of how Valorant is going to be played. Because
just the speed of it.
The speed of it, yeah. It's
the decision making being so quick.
They feel like they're incredibly well practiced. And that doesn't mean that they're doing set plays like the Korean scene is, but they always have an idea of what utility they want to be using as they push into an area. And yeah, it's extremely good to watch. The top level of Brazil is very scary right now because you've combined a lot of good players together. And I don't mean good in terms of their rifling. I mean, each one of them is instinctively excellent at the game, at being able to get value out of their positions that they play in and the shots that they hit and the utility that they use. Someone in my chat was describing it as, it kind of looks like they have 5 Sinatras on both teams. And I agree with them. It seems hyperbolic. It seems hyperbolic to say it like that. Like you're exaggerating.
Hyperbole.
But yeah. Hyperbolic is the
time chamber.
Yeah. But not every player is as good as Sinatra. Yeah. Sinatra is incredible. But the style of their top players in Brazil is very similar to Sinatra. Excellent aim, right? But always moving, always active, always fast, spamming, wall banging to get maximum value out of all of their bullets. Very mobile which is what Sinatra
It's
does.
it's the
to an extreme level.
never a wasted movement.
Yeah.
Is the play style, and I was gonna say to any Overwatch fans who are listening to this, the thing that it reminds me of is watching the Shock's dominance in previous seasons and the pace of which when they came out swinging. I think around season 2 after the first
Yeah,
stage,
like stage 2. Yeah.
like stage 2, just the sheer pace of the decision making of the team is on that kind of level. That's the only thing I can compare it to. There's nothing in Valorant yet that we can compare it to, other than this is the region that's really pioneering it.
Yeah.
And Brazil is the region that makes me excited for LAN events. People are going on about the NAEU rivalry.
Yeah.
Brazil is the region that I am wondering about how they're going to be performing against some of the other top teams.
Yeah.
Because again, I stand by this point. The longer it goes on, just the better this region gets.
Yes,
And
it
the more
really
I'm left
does.
wondering is like, previously it was a hot take to say, that, well, I think Brazil are going to upset some teams. But now it's like, I think it's getting a little bit cold. You might have to shove that in the microwave.
Yeah.
What you are witnessing on your screen right now is fucking magical. Like the value that Shandy finds in his utility, how fast he is with his movement and taking map control.
He's incredible on entry. He really is. Yeah. And he's not even the best player on the team. Like,
no.
I actually think that Nozwa is the best player on that team. And like Teddy might even be the second best player. It's wild. The skill on those teams is absurd. And Brazil absolutely will. I don't even know what the best style against Brazil would be. Like, is the best style
Like
to
100 Thieves?
like turtley or setting up trap plays and stuff? Yeah, I don't know. Like,
the best
maybe.
style
We
might
have
be-
to wait and see.
The best style might be to do what they do, but be better at it.
Yeah, it genuinely might. And
I don't.
for anyone who hasn't watched Brazilian play, other than the clips that we've just shown, the best analogy in North America and Europe that I can think of is the way that Sinatra used to entry on B site on Bind, where he would just be flashing in and pushing constantly, and he's like on top of the bunker on B Bind before the defenders have even realized what's going on. The pace at which Sentinels used to attack that site and how devastatingly good they were at it, it's like that, but on every map, everywhere, every site. That's the level of coordination and tempo that they're going to be playing at. And unless you are extremely good at countering that with the decision-making being rapid on defense, and even if you try and play full retake against them, which might be the best way to do it, they're active in post plants as well. Like, they don't just sit there and wait for you to retake into them.
No.
They'll push you, like, they'll push elbow, for example, if we're using the B-bind example, or they'll push deep into the site if you're talking about Icebox that we just watched.
Yeah.
They're hard to deal with.
The playstyle is all about making the opposition uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And force them into making mistakes by playing at a high pace.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really hard to deal with. I think Brazil's going to be nasty on the world stage.
We've
That Furia Gamelanders game of Icebox was some of the best gameplay I've seen. In probably in Valorant, period, honestly. It's just, I don't know, people I think there's like so much hype around like Vision Strikers and shit, but I think people might be missing the actual potential dominant region here.
Yeah.
MW continues to be a freak, and but Joe stepping up was one of the biggest reasons that they won this game.
Let's move it on.
Yeah,
as well. I mean, this has been how long? I mean, that was a long segment.
It's
Just
a great
sing the
region.
praise of Brazil. It is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. It is. Now
Tune in, watch some of their games,
and send a paycheck our way. The final segment.
This one?
It's time.
Wow.
Yeah, bring it up. Roll the clip. Time of Wyatt's Weekly Award.
Dude, it's so dark in here. I can't see anything. What is that glowing? Oh. It's Wyatt's Weekly Award.
A new one?
What is that?
Kurt, could you bring the award, please?
A new one?
Yeah.
Really?
A new one?
But you used the chili one last week.
Yeah.
But you've just had this one hidden.
That's incredible.
Man.
But
There we
also,
go.
what the hell is this award?
It's a glow-in-the-dark science award.
It's glow in the dark.
Yeah.
Wait, it's glow in the dark, and also, why is it a genie in a lamp?
I don't know what.
I mean, a genie in a lamp is not science. That's spiritualism,
I mean,
mysticism. I don't even know.
Science.
It's It's myth. It's a mythological creature, the Jinn.
Some books on it too.
Science.
Yep. Thank
What are you
you.
presenting it to this week, huh?
This week, Science Award. I'm going to give it to MCE, who is the new coach of Gen G. Because that is presumably the change that Gen G needed. His coming into the team has clearly rejuvenated them, has instilled a new way of approaching the game in Gen G, and provided us with what was the best Gen G gameplay that we have seen in some time. The pace was increased, the mid-round adaptations, decisiveness in the mid-round, playing a style that actually enabled Sean, which was something that they have just been seeking, I feel, for so long, is that he's stuck in this sort of passive way of approaching the game as a duelist. But the way that they were playing in these games, he was constantly taking the first fight on Reyna. He was always on entry, actually effectively pushing into the sites. But then also just in the mid rounds, they would make these decisive moves where Sean and another player would suddenly opt to take map control somewhere. He would take point around the corner and he would find the pick. And aside from that, just abandoning much of what had kind of put them in stasis for so long. So I think you have to give a lot of credit to this dude, MC, for coming into the team, their new coach, and really improving the team significantly in a short amount of time. Because it's not easy to recognize a lot of the issues, and to be able to fix them so fast is very, very impressive.
Yeah,
So.
very good stuff.
Shout
I'm
out to
excited to
Matthew.
watch Gen G.
Good job.
Good job, good job. Yeah, I wasn't aware of his background until you pulled out that tweet as well. The former coach of Chaos.
Yeah.
They did very well in NA Valorant, NA CS, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to
Cool. Very good.
glow in the dark.
Well, why are you making it dark then? You have to put light on it first.
Yeah.
It's been in a dark cupboard. You know? Do you know how glow in the dark things work?
You have to put. You have to.
Does it trap the light in?
You have to get it.
You know,
up
I
close
don't
to
know the
light.
actual chemical way that it does it, but yeah, I think it does kind of. I think it absorbs light, turns it into chemical energy, and then emits it when it's in the dark.
Working. Look,
What do you have to put it up close to your eyes?
cover it up like that.
He's trying to make it dark so
It
that you
works,
can
it
see
works,
it
it
glowing.
works.
I believe that it
I
glows.
understand what you're saying.
I can play with
But
this later.
It needs to have more actual light
You can
emitted
kind
on
of
it
see it. You
first.
can kind of see it. Well, thanks for watching Platchef Island, everybody. How do things glow in the dark? When you have something like a toy that glows in the dark, it can glow because it contains materials called
Phosphors.
Phosphors can radiate light after they have gotten energy from the sun or another bright light. They soak up energy from the light and they radiate this energy.
There you go. So you were right.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go.
I was
But also, it has been in a dark cupboard, so it's basically soaked up zero light. So
good
far.
omen if I was
So-
right about it, though.
Yeah,
So it
I mean
means
that
my
bodes.
bracket's going to be good as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you got this science award correct with your knowledge of science, then surely you can
Yeah.
know all the other things there are to know.
Fast
All
over
right.
there.
Thanks for watching. Avast's power went out because of the rolling blackouts from the cold. A sentence I never thought I'd utter. But yeah, here we are, living it up.
Cool.
Living it up.
Bye.
Thanks. Wait, have you ended it? No. Make sure you leave a comment. 'Cause we need
yes.
engagements.
What do you need? What do you need them to leave a comment
I
about?
need to know what your favorite type of weather is.
Mm.
Do you like snow? Do you like sun? Do you like the rain? Do you
Yeah.
like a windy day?
Should we go outside and make a snowman?
No. It's too
No?
cold.
It's cold whenever you can make a snowman,
It
by
is.
definition.
It is it's like unnaturally cold.
Yeah, it is like.
It's like a -7 and the risk of windburn is severe.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can if you want, but
no, it's
there's a
okay.
reason why Texas is shut down.
All right, I won't go and make a
So,
snowman.
Yeah. Be safe out there. If you're from Texas, make sure you run your taps because our showers are frozen. And we'll see you next time.